guys, welcome to the 44th entry of Directly to You. I'm here with Parker because Logan is MIA, as is his brand. But the plan is we're going to have Parker on for the rest of the episodes until Directly to You explodes, and also have Logan on when he's available. But this way, we'll be able to have Directly to You every week rather than whenever Logan's available. But aside from all that housekeeping stuff, as Logan likes to talk about a lot, the Anchor listener support is an option to you. If you want to pledge anywhere between $1 and $10, you can go to anchor.com/directly to you. Linked in the description, linked on our Twitter. And you can do that to help out the channel. If you want to get something in return for your support, you can go to youtube.com/fanatics4 and become a member by clicking that join button. You'll get exclusive emotes, gaming time with us, loyalty badges, free Switch keys from time to time, access to our supporter-only Discord, the whole shebang. So what's up, Parker? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's fun to be on the show. Looking forward to this going forward.
Yeah, you know what? I always like talking with everybody, like in the comments and stuff like that. Like, that's always fun. And that was a big reason why we even started this channel, is because I want to talk about video games with people, right?
Yeah.
And just I always wanted, like, the very first action point I ever did, the idea of it was for people to make their own, to make their own action point and say, oh, I like this video, I'm going to make a response video to this, not just comment, but go the whole extra mile. So I like when people like you or Justin or, like, in the past Nate hit me up and are like, hey, I want to be a part of this in a creator way, like I want to be on a podcast or start making videos and stuff like that. That was the goal.
Yeah, for sure. No, and it's fun just to, I feel like, have more voices in that space too, because, obviously I listen to you and Logan talk about this stuff, and it's like, I'll talk to some of my friends that also have Switches, but it ends up being, I'm way more informed in a lot of it than they are, so it ends up just being me telling them the news, and like, here's this stuff going on, and they're like, well, that's neat, as opposed to actually like having discourse and getting to have that. So it's, obviously just fun to have somebody to talk to about it that's already kind of in that sphere, as you obviously are. So, yeah.
Right. With that being said, tell me the news.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm doing here is gathering all the news stuff. So this past week hasn't been super heavy in news. There's been a decent amount of rumors, and so we'll chat about those some, and then also about any new stuff that came up that seemed worth mentioning. The first one is, it'll tie into your video a little bit later, but just that there's a Nintendo Direct coming in January. Like, that's almost a given at this point. And probably it'll be the January 10th kind of question mark, but there's one site that actually, put it as a leak, quote unquote, as opposed to just being speculative, which, I mean, I guess the question there is it still speculation on the part of the person that leaked it versus do they actually know something? So yeah, maybe the January Direct being on the 10th. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Somebody I know said that a direct
may or may
not happen around this time frame. I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
But no, it makes a lot of sense for them to do that, especially if they do it before Mario Deluxe and Travis Strikes Again and stuff like that, so they're able to give that brief like push of like, hey, here's these games that's coming out soon, and also here's more down the pipe.
Yeah, right, totally. And it seems like, I mean, theoretically they could, if for some reason they skipped the 10th and did it on the 17th, they could do that some for Travis Strikes Again, but that just wouldn't make as much sense, as far as like, that's not a first party game. That's not like what they're trying to push. I mean, obviously they want to push it as well, but New Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, U Deluxe, makes a lot more sense of something that they'd actually like try to be vying for and get it ahead of that. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me in that sense.
Yeah, and they definitely want to try to have that in the news cycle, because like Mario, even though like a lot of like hardcore gamers and stuff like that aren't really super hype about that game, Mario U Deluxe very well may be like top 3 seller this year.
Yeah. Totally.
Like, and I'm not even just talking about Switch games. Like, I'm talking about games, period. Because 2D Mario games sell ridiculously. Like, the one on the Wii sold, like, nearly 30 million units. Like, I remember Reggie Fils-Aimé said something about, he was, like, on some show. Or it was, like, a news interview or something. And he was like, guys, Call of Duty is going to be outsold by New Super Mario Bros. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And he was talking all platforms. It's going to outsell. And everybody's like, you're crazy. You're insane, blah, blah. Lo and behold, it did it by, like, handily. Like, it wasn't even close. So it's like, that series is a juggernaut, as has become a joke. But it really is. Like, it's going to sell crazy if Mario Kart is any indication also.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like Mario Party 2 is a bit of an inclination of that, in that it sold super well right around Christmas time, which just goes to show that it seems like a lot of gamers themselves are like fairly interested in it because they picked it up. It sold well at launch, but then it sold really well right around Christmas time. So like that Mario Party and like New Super Mario Bros, those kinds of like, 2D Mario games, I feel like are games that parents will see and be like, hey, my kid wants this, because, it's a parent that's fairly uninformed, but they know like Mario is a great game, so we'll get that for my kid. And so they'll get it anyway, which just, obviously lots of people like it. And, I'll get it. I don't know if I'll get it right at launch, but I'll get it at some point. And then, that said, it'll just, folks that actually play games a lot will get it. And then also parents. So yeah, that makes sense in any case.
And I want to stream it, so Nintendo, hit me up. Provide product, please. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Free game.
Hashtag free game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that rumor seems like it makes. I think the other thing about it too, it's a Thursday, so that's always a strong point for those dates. It seems like they come then, and it's one of those things where it makes sense, but still Nintendo doesn't always do what makes sense. I feel like we'll probably see that in some other things later as we talk about direct things. But yeah, Nintendo sometimes makes weird decisions, but that one at least, hopefully they'll kind of stick to something normal and put it out.
It's very well a normal thing even for them to do this. Like they're January, like it's to the point where certain directs people refer to as the X direct, like a E3 direct. Like we know that's going to happen, right? People call this the January direct because we know it's going to happen. It always happens.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, and I think, as far as like if we have any predictions, I think we'll kind of get into that when we talk about your video later, because that's most of what your video talked about. But as for the 10th specifically, there you go. There's a bit of news or rumor that it's probably going to be on that day, as you predicted yourself. A next bit of news thing that is also kind of rumor territory and maybe leak territory. So I'll give the context of it, and then if anybody wants to, I guess, keep away from leaks, you can skip forward a couple minutes or something. But in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, there was a data mine of DLC fighters, and there were 3 that were possibly found, 2 of which we already know. It's the Piranha Plant and Joker, seems like. Right. And then a code name for a third one. So now the question is, speculation, what is that third character? And so again, leak territory coming up, possibly. You can skip ahead if you want to. But the code name was Brave, which could mean a couple of things. I don't know. What are your thoughts right off the bat of what that could be?
So for more context, the reason why, the ones that we think we know, or that we know, Paku is Piranha Plant, and Jack is Joker. Yeah. And then the other one is Brave. A lot of people think that Brave is what is his name?
Erdrick.
Yeah, Erdrick from Dragon Quest. I think it makes a lot of sense as far as Japan goes. But outside of Japan, I don't know how much sense it makes.
Yeah, I think one of the things too that we saw when I feel like a lot of Western viewers, myself included, was sort of deflated at the last Smash Bros. Direct, with Incineroar being kind of like the big announcement, because in the West, we don't really care about him that much. But apparently in Japan, they were flipping out. That's super exciting for them. Whereas, we got Ridley and King K. Rool, who are super big announcements for the West. Right. And then, so I feel like this would be just another one of those, kind of pointing towards Japan and, something that they'd get excited about. And I think he's from the earlier Dragon Quest games, or I don't know totally. But it seems like, they'd be theoretically pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds like something that would be a big deal in Japan. Yeah. I don't really care about it though. But hey, it's how everybody wants Goku? Yeah. It's as close as you're going to get. All his characters look the same, so you got a Toriyama character. There you go. Yep. Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah. They'll have the same exact face.
honestly, he really does look like Goku. Like, I looked him up, and I mean, I guess in the original game, he's just, well, not I guess. Yeah, he is just, 8-bit sprite. And so once they drew him out, though, straight up, he's just Goku, kind of shorter with a sword.
Right.
Yeah. I guess a couple points towards why we think it might be him is that Erdrick's name translates roughly to brave warrior or hero or something like that in the Japanese. So that's something. Also, there was a pre-existing rumor from a long time ago, like before the Grinch leaks and all that stuff, that Square Enix was one of the DLC characters was theirs. So that's a thing. And then
I think I mentioned that in my DLC video.
Yep. Totally. And the last thing is just that prior to this, there was some quote unquote insider information that Erdrick would be in there. So who's to say?
Right. I had I gotta find it. Vamp for me.
Cool.
So more thoughts.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I guess a couple other thoughts. If it's not Erdrick, then it's possible that it could be, I don't know, like a Bravely Default character, maybe even an Octopath Traveler character. That would be a little bit of a stretch. I myself would very much enjoy anything Octopath Traveler in Smash Bros. Because I played it and liked it a whole lot. I mean, a couple ideas for that were like, even if it's an assist trophy, like an assist trophy that switches between characters, because there's 8 of them, like that would just be neat. And as far as Bravely Default goes, which that would make more sense, but maybe it would be too on the nose because of the brave aspect of it. I don't really know anything about that game because I haven't played a whole lot of 3DS games, unfortunately. And so...
Yeah, I know a lot of people really like that game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't find this thing. It was a tweet that I liked. I don't know if the tweet got deleted, but basically somebody posted a tweet of like the like frame data for the fighters that are in the game, like and like how heavy they are and stuff like that. Like Joker is apparently like on the lighter side. Like he's like within 5 points of like a Greninja, like around that territory.
Gotcha.
And they said Piranha Plant is also around that same realm. It would make sense with the data that they had in that leak if it was the Dragon Quest character. Like it just makes a lot of sense with how that all sounds like he plays.
So interesting. So that data that they data mined, this was like within this same data they found the Brave part, and then they also found the frame data.
Right.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That would be really... Because, yeah, some of those... I feel like some other characters maybe just wouldn't make sense for that. I don't know. Maybe some Bravely Default characters wouldn't or something else. It could be something completely different entirely for all we know. But
I hope it is. I really want a Kingdom Hearts character. That would be dope.
And that's a good point. I mean, honestly, if it's Erdrick and he's, he's a Square Enix character, I doubt they would have 2 DLC fighters in here.
Yeah.
So here's hoping. I guess another thought, it's possible that this is a first wave of DLC fighters. I don't know. For some reason, when they first talked about the DLC fighters, some of it kind of felt like they were implying like this is a first wave and then we'll see from there, Yeah,
it definitely seems like that sort of thing. It from now on, I wouldn't be shocked if Nintendo did a couple of I think there's something in here later about Zelda where it's like it wouldn't surprise me at all if for the rest of the Switch's life and the rest of their consoles, we get a couple of extra DLC down the road that is dependent on how the last thing performed. So if they see like, oh, okay, the last DLC for Zelda sold X amount of units, it would be a good idea to continue to support that with more content. Or there's people that are still buying this game after the 10 million or so people that own it already. Let's support it even further and have them double dip again while it's still fresh in their minds.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Mario Kart, for example, in your video, and I think that, is one of those where they haven't done that kind of thing yet, but it would make sense if they started to. Because I think in the Wii U's lifespan was when they, obviously started delving into DLC, but the Wii U just didn't sell well, so they did the first round and they were like, nah, it's not worth it. Let's just save everything for... There's a lot of Smash Bros. Ultimate stuff where, when they did that, what was it? The character... When they sent out, which characters do you want? Whatever that was called.
Oh, the Fighter's Ballot.
Yes, the Fighter's Ballot. They pretty much didn't use any of that for Super Smash Bros or for 4
for the DLC, yeah.
Because
they basically just all said, okay, let's keep this in mind when we make Ultimate.
Yeah, because they were like, we're pretty much done. Like, there's just
Right.
not enough people buying it to make it worth making even more DLC for it. So whereas now they're kind of in a prime position to start kind of on that train. So
right, and that's a big reason why, like, in general, I lean towards not trying to like base my predictions on what they have done.
Right.
Because the Switch is kind of like, all right, rules are out the window. Like they never would do DLC for Legend of Zelda. Lo and behold, we have Legend of Zelda DLC. So it's like,
yeah, and even like, you don't want to base it not only on what they haven't done, but even what they have done, where I feel like at the end of 2017, everybody was saying like, oh, 2017, there was a game that came out every month. And then 2018 comes around and people are like, there's going to be a game every month. And then there just wasn't. Like, which is, turned out fun.
I mean, there kind of was a game every month. It was just not a game every month that people cared about to the same degree.
Very true.
Where it's like, they had a lot of new Super Mario Bros. Deluxe situations where it's like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, like that came out last year.
Right.
And I was about to say this year. And that game's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But so many like hardcore fans are like, I already played that game, or I already know it existed on Wii U, so I might as well had already played that game, so I don't really want it. But in a vacuum, all those people are in a vacuum. Everybody else that's looking at this as their new Nintendo console, and possibly the first Nintendo console they've ever had, or maybe had in a couple decades,
Yeah, I'm the latter one in that case, and last year was great.
Right.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Because I had a Wii, I had a GameCube and N64 and stuff, but like just didn't spend as much time on those recently, and just skipped the Wii U entirely. So when it came to the Switch last year, I was kind of a lapsed gamer until 2017, and then last year there was a ton of games that I was playing for the first time. Hollow Knight, played that and loved it, and a bunch of other games that they were ports, but for me they were new. And so I feel like there's a lot of people in that position with the Switch, like you said.
Right. I mean, statistically, most people. The Switch already is like, it's like almost double what the Wii U is.
Yeah. I'm trying to math it out, but if not almost, then definitely.
Yeah, I think the last figure, here we go. I know I have this, though. I have this on my bookmark bar.
Nice.
For sales. There we go. So Switch, last figure that they reported this at their last quarterly earnings thing, which was as of September 30th. 22.86 million for Switch units sold. The Wii U was at 13.56.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at around double what Wii U sold.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a Nintendo fan.
Right. So I think it's safe to say that most people that have Switches didn't have a Wii U.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And it's possible that even the ones that did have a Wii U didn't play these games. Because, like, I had a Wii U, and I didn't play Captain Toad.
Right.
But I played it this year, provided by Nintendo, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I also played Hyrule Warriors this year, and I hated that, but I didn't play it on the Wii U.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like people are really polar about that game. That's totally an aside, but I feel like it's I've heard both sides of that.
Yeah, I get it.
Moving along, another rumor, and this one. So EA's Frostbite engine may be supported. Either it's working now or it's being worked on to work on the Switch. But I mean, that's pretty much it. The rumor itself is fairly. It's Doc Trey, who's a YouTuber, found a LinkedIn profile that everything kind of pieces together to theoretically mean that they're working on getting the Frostbite engine on the Switch. So the implications of that could be a whole bunch of different things if that's true at all. So again, that's what makes it a rumor. What are your thoughts on that?
This is something that I've been banging this drum since before the Switch was even announced, that every game could, in theory, run on Switch. It's just a matter of if the company sees fit for it to do so. Yeah. Because it's not a thing of like, oh, the Switch is not powerful enough to run this game. It's a thing of the Switch isn't powerful to run this game as we have it right now. But they can tinker with assets and, mess with their engine if their engine's scalable.
Right.
The problem was that their engine wasn't scalable, and it was their fault that their Switch games or their games couldn't run on Switch. It wasn't that the Switch just could never handle a game like Madden. That game could never ever be possible on the Switch. Like what? No, it's like your engine's stupid and you need to fix that, and it can very well easily run on the Switch.
Yep.
So it didn't surprise me at all when I saw that. I know that a lot of people are surprised by that because they're like, that was one of those things that's like, oh, that's never going to happen.
Right.
Switch is never going to have Frostbite. It's impossible.
I think if I'm surprised at anything, it's not even surprise, but just that EA is finally kind of stepping up to the plate. Like, it makes sense, and you'd think they should have and would have by now, but that's kind of the thing, is like, it seems like they've had fairly bad relationship with, I don't know what, but I've heard people mention that like something during the Wii U era was like, I mean, besides obviously sales, that's a given.
Oh yeah, you're talking about so at the beginning of the Wii U, well, before even the Wii U, when Nintendo was like really looking into like doubling down on like digital sales and all that, they pitched to Nintendo that they wanted to, and this is rumor, this is not like, I don't know this for a fact, but apparently they pitched to Nintendo that they wanted to have Origin be the back end of Nintendo's store on the Wii U.
Interesting.
Nintendo wasn't having that. So they're like, all right, well, we don't really want to associate ourselves with this as much as we did before.
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another because of sales, and then they backed out.
Yep.
But I think the biggest thing that is changing their mind, and I'm queuing up the eShop right now, is how like starkly different the ecosystem is with the Nintendo Switch in comparison to all their other platforms, because previously you would never ever see a non-Nintendo game be in the top 10.
Right.
But right now, just in the top 10, half of it is non-Nintendo games.
Yep. And honestly, the reason that there's so many right now, because I feel like oftentimes it's even more than that are non-Nintendo games. And right now, one of the things later is there's a sale on a bunch of games, including Nintendo games. So there's probably a bunch that are popping up there now that weren't before, just because there's so many games that are selling super well that aren't Nintendo games, which again, for the first time in literally ever, because or at least since we've had eShops at all, which pretty much was just the Wii U, because the Wii just had its Wii
Virtual Console and WiiWare.
Yeah, right. Which Virtual Console was great. WiiWare, not so much.
Yeah.
So
there was some good stuff. There was World of Goo.
Yep. The one game that I could think of that was in there. There's a YouTube channel, Scott the Woz, that
phenomenal.
Yep.
Great channel.
And he goes through and has bought some WiiWare games and just shows them off, and it's really funny to watch just because some of them are pretty pitiful. So I don't know. I feel like all this, it's the Frostbite stuff. You're totally right. Like, it's a question of scalability. I mean, Madden ran on, again, a different Madden game, obviously, but ran on the N64 at the time. And like, a game truly is just mechanics. And then at that point, the graphics are, a little bit, they're important for sure, but not like to the degree that a lot of developers, they're really proud of their great graphics. But then if that's the only thing that's holding your game up, like that's nothing. Like, that doesn't really, if the game's not fun, if it doesn't actually play well, then, who really cares about the graphics?
Because I mean, there's some games that theoretically would be impossible if it were for the consoles being significantly more powerful than they actually are. Like Crackdown, that game is only possible because of the power that is afforded to it, not through the Xbox, but through cloud gaming, right? Like, that's a game that's gameplay would be affected if it didn't have the same amount of like horsepower backing it. No other game is like using like particle effects as a key part of their gameplay, right? Like, it's not like, oh man, if we can't have all these polygons on the screen, then we could never play this game. Like, even a game like No Man's Sky is not. It doesn't take nearly as much computing power as you would think for the game to happen.
Yeah, and so, I mean, a game like Ark Survival Evolved recently, I don't know. Like, that's just a question of like bad development. It's there's there's just no way that it's a question of that game is like too impossible to run, because it's not even running well on, Xbox and PlayStation 4. So
arguably even PC.
Yeah.
The thing about it is it's all optimization. It's how much do you want your game to run well on this platform?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess on, same topic but different side of the coin is just obviously on the technical side, they're trying to get it to run theoretically, but I don't know even how to phrase the question right, but like, why did it take them so long? And do we think that at this point they're actually going to go in like full force, or probably just like a little bit dip their toes in, or I don't know. What do you think on that?
I think they took long because development takes a long time. Yeah. And they didn't want to dip their toe in the water until they knew Switch was successful. By the time they could know that, which was 10 months in, yeah. They had to all right, let's get to work, and the fact that they did it in about a year from then is, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
I think that they'll stick around if their games continue to do well, and I think that that's wholly on them. I know that a lot of developers like to do these half-assed dipping their toe in the water situation, where they're like, oh, we don't know if we want to put our games on X Nintendo platform. Let's give you this half-baked port that's nothing like the quality games that you do purchase, and then be shocked when nobody's buying it. Like, what?
Yeah.
You didn't want to buy the Wii version of freaking 2K or whatever? Like, nobody wants to play that.
Yeah. The fact that I feel like Rockstar with LA Noire, for example, is just like, yeah, it's a good game, but it's also not anything anybody's excited about. So if that was really your test for the market, that's kind of cheap.
A bad test.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you want to do if Take-Two wanted to do a test for a Rockstar game, they needed to do GTA 5.
100%. And honestly, it would still be on the top eShop charts every single week.
Yeah. It was that game. And that's a situation of, you need the Switch just as much as it needs you if you want your game to continue to sell like that, because that is the whole reason why GTA sells. It's that game that, what Smash Brothers and Mario Kart are for Nintendo platforms. It's like, you buy a Switch, you're buying Smash Brothers and you're buying Mario Kart. Yeah. Or somebody's going to buy it for you, that's just how it happens. And that's what's going to happen if they put GTA on Switch. It'll just be a whole nother deluge of people buying this game, because it already sits on top of NPD anyway. It's been out for 4 years.
Unreal.
And it's still always in the top 10. That game will go from being number 8 in the NPD to being number 2 at least.
Yeah.
If they put that game on Switch for the next 4 to 5 months, and then after that it's going to sit at 6 to 7, in that range, and slowly peter back down to 8.
Yep. Honestly, I'm really happy that Diablo especially, I feel like is a game that is proving pretty much that Nintendo, or that Switch fans in any case, aren't just getting Nintendo games and are also getting more, grown-up games, quote unquote, M-rated games.
Right.
Not that, I don't know, doesn't really matter. But I feel like that's, in my mind, is a helpful case for it, because there's a bunch of games still that, Dark Souls sold well, but isn't at the top of the charts all the time, and all these other games that sold fairly well, but there's just some that I feel like are going to hold it up, and I'm really excited about the prospects of all that. And I feel like this year is the year probably that will mark whether or not, how that goes, and if any console. I'm curious, would EA at some point just, if this isn't true, if they're not actually trying to get the Frostbite engine to work, are they just going to stay off the console forever? I doubt it. That just seems super unlikely.
I think that EA likes money too much for them not to be on Switch.
So, yeah, I guess, that's all on that. We'll find out more as that goes along. In other news, in Japan, so this is something interesting. We've talked before, or you guys have talked before, about kind of legality of ROMs and emulators and all that kind of stuff. And so now it's illegal to, the article that I pulled said it's illegal to hack your Nintendo Switch in Japan, which is a little bit misleading. It's actually that it's illegal to mess with save data on any consoles, or period. So, or it seems like it. It doesn't specifically say, but it seems like PS4 or Xbox, anything, you can't mess with your save data on those consoles, mostly for reasons, I guess, of cheating in online games. But there's a potential prison sentence of up to 5 years or 5 million yen fine, which is about 46,000 US dollars. And I guess a bit of extra information on this, there are companies in Japan, for example, CyberGadget is the one that's named in this article, that will actually like jailbreak your Switch for you. So like you'll send it into them and then they'll hack it and also put on stuff like tools to be able to manipulate your save data, and also tools to emulators and that kind of stuff. So they'll do all that for you. And my guess is, for context, that probably those fines and sentences are reserved more for them than it is for actual end users who probably would just get banned instead. So right. Yeah, it's I just thought that was an interesting article. And honestly, I read some of the comments on this specific article, and a lot of people were way more negative about it than I mean, I imagined that it would be kind of a little bit on both sides, where some people were like, yeah, that's good that I'm happy that, ideally people won't be messing with save data, but also the jail time and fine stuff seems really steep.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people, it doesn't surprise me at all that people are like against this. Right. Like even without the jail time, because it's like, it seems like a lot of people like having that way to get over on the company. Like they think that it's pro-consumer to be anti yourself, right. Like to be anti your business is pro-consumer. It's like, I want you to be happy, so I'm going to like sabotage myself. Yeah. And it's like, that's just not what a transactional relationship is. It needs to feel like, both people need to feel like that. Like that's a good business deal. When both people feel like they're getting over on the other person, that's how you win. Yep. And that is definitely like an unbalanced situation if these companies are like giving you this product and you're able to like then take it and run with it and make it this whole other thing, and then you prosper off of it. I mean, it's interesting too, because in you saying that, it reminds me of consoles that have come out, and like kind of lower tiered consoles that have this open platform where like you can do whatever you want, and like we'll offer you the games, but you can also pretty much like you can hack it and all that, and it's just a platform for you to use, and they sell awful. Like it just doesn't turn out well, because then instead of the people that buy those, instead of being folks that want to actually play it and buy the games on that console, are people that want to hack it. And then they just hack it and they buy, they download ROMs and play their own ROMs and stuff, as opposed to, using the infrastructure that's given to them, like is on, Nintendo and Xbox and PlayStation's or in Sony's platforms. So yeah, because otherwise it's just shooting yourself in the foot. So I don't know. It's not clear, honestly, if this came from Nintendo, if they kind of pioneered it or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were, just because the issues are coming up more with them than anybody else. So, right. But yeah, so that's curious. Maybe now we'll get Splatoon 2 cloud saves.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard people on both sides of like how they could fix that, but it seems like they could fix that if they just invested some stuff into it.
They could 100% fix it. They could definitely fix it.
So next up, I think you talked about a little bit on the Wolf Den the other day, but Smash Bros is Amazon's highest selling video game SKU of 2018. And that's like not just including actual video game games, but also includes just any video game accessories and anything that has to do, is under the video game tab.
Yeah, the infamous PSN cards.
Yeah. They've been dethroned, as it were, for the first time in a really long time. And so, yeah, that's cool. The top 10 list, this is excluding accessories and all that kind of stuff. This is just games. So number one is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, specifically on PS4, which, again, that one and some other multiplats are split up by SKU. So if there's like an Xbox version and a PS4 version, then they'd be split up. Still, right. Red Dead Redemption is, I think it was like number 9 or something. So that said, it still probably wouldn't be as high as... No, it still definitely wouldn't be as high as Smash, specifically for Amazon. But There's that. Number 3, Super Mario Party. Number 4, Spider-Man. 5.
That's insane. That is crazy.
And here's the thing, too. You mean crazy that it's as low as it is, or
no,
or that it's that high?
That Mario Party is above Spider-Man.
Here's the only thing that I think has to do with that, and this is I don't really know, but up until August 28th, I think it was, you could get Amazon still had their like 20% off pre-orders, but PS4 games were all excluded. Or I think it was just. Do you remember if it was all PS4 games or just exclusives?
It wasn't all PlayStation. I think it was like it was
Spider-Man, Detroit.
I believe
God of
Spider-Man
War.
was definitely like excluded.
100%.
I think Red Dead was excluded.
Really interesting
too. So I don't think it was just exclusives, because I remember I was trying to take advantage of that, because I don't like the thing with Amazon is like I used to just. Like whenever we had big directs or like E3 or anything like that, I would run through them like I'm pre-ordering this, and this, just so I don't have to think about it, right? Like I don't want to have to be like, oh, I want to play this game at midnight or as close to it as possible or whatever, right? And then I'm at the day and it's like, oh, I can't play it because it's not here because I didn't order it.
Yeah.
And I forgot to. But now that Nintendo sends me stuff, it's like I'll forget the opposite problem, where it's like I'll forget that I pre-ordered something and it'll show up in the mail. It's like, why is this here? I already have it. It's like, so I only now pre-order games that are on other platforms. So I was upset because I couldn't even take advantage of the Prime thing, because the only thing I wanted to pre-order was Spider-Man.
Yep.
And possibly Red Dead. It wasn't there.
Yeah, and that was so. I feel like it's, some of this is obviously, it's not like these aren't the best selling games or anything like that. Obviously, Spider-Man sold more than Super Mario Party, but still, yeah, that Super Mario Party is above Spider-Man in that respect is pretty surprising.
Yeah, like just anywhere. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Man. Moving down, number 5, Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Don't know, AJ, if you knew about that one, but no, yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 6, Super Mario Odyssey. Number 7, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, which I'm curious if Let's Go Eevee.
Hashtag Team Pikachu.
Hey, me too. Yep. I got it for Christmas. I got Smash on the release day, but it was either I get Smash release day and Pikachu for Christmas or the other way around. And so, yeah, I got Let's Go for Christmas, and it's been a good old time. And
hey, man, I don't blame you. I did the same thing.
Yep.
I did the same thing. Smash Brothers, okay. Do we have any stories related to Smash Brothers besides the DLC thing? Because I kind of just want to talk about Smash Brothers.
Let's do it. Honestly, nope, don't see any, but yeah, let's talk about it.
All right, so Smash Brothers. This game is insane. It's a problem. It's a problem to my productivity, because usually I'll spend so much time researching all these different things. Like I'll come up with like 5-6 different videos, and I'm like, oh man, I want to make this, and then I'll like script out a video, and it's like, oh no, I don't want to do that anymore. But now all that time that I'm like making all these different videos and scrapping stuff, that time's gone. Now I'm just playing Smash Brothers, and when I'm not playing Smash Brothers, I'm doing this, right? So like I'm either working or playing Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Yeah, it's pretty great, honestly. So I'm not a super competitive gamer, and I'm not great at Smash. So I've actually been playing through World of Light, and I just beat it the other day, and that's been a whole lot of fun. But yeah, man, it is a masterpiece of a game. Like just so well done, and I
love it so much.
Yeah,
I love it so much. And I'm not like, I'm relatively competitive, but I would say that Smash Brothers like takes me over the edge to being like really competitive, because it's just how much I like the game, and I guess because of like how good I am at it.
Yeah, that's valid.
So that's like a possibility. Plus, it's like just the fact that I like it so much forced me to get good at it, because I'm like, oh, I really like this game and all these characters and blah blah blah. So I spent all this time playing it, and I got really good at it. And now, like me and Logan, like we both were on that same boat, and we're just competitive in general with each other. So it's like that just made it even worse. And now it's like it's just this whole thing, just this whole thing. And now I'm on, and I'm also upset. And this became a thing, and Grimhain knows what I'm talking about. So I tweeted that Dan Seibert of That Cyber Channel, youtube.com/That Cyber Channel, everybody go subscribe, has not played this game with me since it launched.
Calling him out.
And he was, I mean, everybody, all of our like YouTuber friends and stuff like that were like talking crazy, you know, like everybody's like, yo, AJ's gonna get destroyed in Smash Brothers, blah blah. And I'm like, all right, man, like I'm taking all challengers, let's go, like I'm down, right? And then when the game's out, everybody disappears. Like, where are y'all at? You know, like even Bob fought me multiple times, and Bob knew he was outmatched. You know, like Bob, that was already settled at Smash Wii U when he got
that was
two stock 3 times in a row.
That was a pretty sad stream. I wasn't. I watched for some of it, and like he was very deflated at the end, which is a whole lot of fun.
I told him, and it's like it's this whole thing. Like he loves banging that like excuses drum, which I mean, to some extent, sure, I guess, but. I mean, there comes a time where excuses become reasons.
Yeah.
And if I'm telling you, no, like this is the, oh shoot, I smacked my mic, I'm sorry. But if I'm telling you that I did X, Y, and Z because of this, and this, and then I destroy you in the game, you gotta hear what I'm saying to you at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Because like I was like, hey man, like that wasn't a real match. If I'm picking Pichu on Big Blue with 3 other people and items on, like that to me is not a competitive match. That's a Mario Party game at that point.
Right, 100%.
So once I beat him in that, it's like you would think that had him like, okay, yeah, it's not excuses. He's just telling me this is the reason why it happened. But no, like people they just don't. And I mean, I'm transparent about it. Like I by no means I'm not a zero, you know, like I'm not, I don't have the dedication to be like the best Smash Brothers player in the world, but I'm as good as you could possibly get without putting that dedication in.
Yep. Man, honestly, I've thought about it. I would love to see just like a YouTuber tournament, because I feel like there's a bunch of people like one of the channels that I watch is Player Essence, and the guy from there, OJ, he's pretty good. He's real good. And so I'd be curious, like between you guys, I have no idea what would happen. But I think you're, relatively evenly matched. So it'd just be interesting to see all of that.
May or may not be planning something like that.
Really?
I may or may not have floated the idea to Robert Wolf and Daniel Seibert.
The ones and only.
More on that in the future.
Sounds good. I'll be excited. Man, on another note real quick on Smash Bros. On my lunch break with some coworkers of mine that also have Switches, we played it and we didn't have enough Joy-Cons. I play with Joy-Cons instead because I don't want to like bother to do the GameCube thing and then not be able to play handheld. That just seems not fun. Right. But we didn't have enough, and so we had to play with sideways Joy-Cons and just the one. It was the worst experience that I've ever had playing a Smash Brothers game. Specifically, if you like press in the joystick, it taunts instead. And so there were a bunch of times that I like try to run away because I was holding it weird. I'd just like be standing there and just taunt.
Rip.
Yep. So yeah, not a lot of fun.
Rip.
But
that's the worst.
Indeed.
All right, Smash Brothers segment over.
Yep.
What's next? All
right, next we've got UK Switch sales rise in 2018, although box game sales drop. So yeah, not a whole lot to talk about on this one, just that in 2018, the Switch games sold 90% higher than in 2017, whereas PS4 and Xbox games sold less a little bit, which makes sense because they're kind of on their way out as new ones are kind of picking up. But also just in general, box sales, so like, physical hardware or physical software is selling less than it used to. So I don't know, interesting.
The digital future is upon us. All switch over to the digital overlord.
Honestly, like
it was coming.
I'm not that opposed to it. I'm not particularly a collector. Like I get physical games sometimes. I think it'll make getting games as gifts like really hard or impossible. Like I just don't think that parents are gonna get digital games for their kids if they're not really aware of what's going on. But besides that, like just for me as a gamer, aside from the quote unquote fears of like we don't have ownership over our games anymore, or day one patches, if their servers go down, that kind of stuff, like those are valid questions and I don't really know what's going to happen with those. But besides that, like I'm pretty much fine with having mostly digital games. It's really convenient.
I think the major issue with that argument is that like if a company was like, hey, we don't want you to play this game anymore on a disc, they could very well do that to you. And they can revoke access to a disc. Also, disc gets stolen and it break and it gets crashed and so on and so forth. And for me, it was like, I'm not opposed to either one. It used to just be whichever one was cheaper. And I guess it still is whichever one's cheaper.
Yeah.
And now that I get stuff from companies, it's whatever they send me. I wanted My Hero 1's Justice physically, but Bandai was, digitally, but Bandai was like, nah, you're getting it physically. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I don't have that. I don't have that luxury to choose anymore. Luckily, Nintendo usually sends keys, and that's what I would prefer. So. Because it's just always there, like especially with a portable console. Like I don't want to be worried about like, oh no, I don't have my cartridge for this game. I just want to pick it up and turn it on.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's been plenty of times where I'm like, I would love to play Breath of the Wild right now, but I really don't feel like going the 4 feet to go grab the cartridge and switch it out.
That's also true. Yeah. That's also a problem.
Alive. Yeah.
I've done that many times. Like just a couple of days ago, and this isn't gaming related. I was like, "Hey, I'm hungry. I want to order some food." And then my card was like on the other side of the room. I was like, "I can't do it."
That's why you memorize your card number like I do, and it's dangerous. Yeah. But talking about sales, a different kind of sale is the Nintendo eShop sales that are starting yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago if you're listening to this on Saturday, I guess. And they'll be going until January 10th. And so there's a bunch of good games that are on sale. So 30% off Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, Splatoon 2.
January 10th, you say?
January 10th, I do say.
It's
I wonder if anything is going on that day. No, I thought the same thing. When I saw that, I was like, man alive, if it's not a potential rumor for that. Yeah, because honestly, no, it makes sense because then, they'd want to have pre-sale start the next day. And then, I don't know, sales being done means that things will get bumped up onto the eShop front page. It makes sense. It just all makes sense.
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a bunch of cool games on sale, so go and check it out.
Yeah, Mario Kart is up on those charts just because of that. Mm-hmm. Like I remember I saw that and I was like, man, Mario Kart is going to sell so much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my boss he bought a Wii U like when Breath of the Wild came out because he was like, I don't need to get a Switch, I'll just get a Wii U. And he got like all these other games. He got off Craigslist with a bunch of other games as well, and including Mario Kart 8. And so he was like, I'm just never going to get that on Switch again. And then he told me today, he was like, yeah, I saw it for $40 or $42 or whatever on the eShop. Yeah. So I got that.
Yes. I mean, I was telling people that's the worst investment. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to buy a Switch yet because I can just get a Wii U for $180 or whatever and then buy a whole bunch of games.
Makes no sense.
It's like, why would you do that? You're going to get a Switch, unless you're not going to get a Switch for the next 6 years. Mm-hmm. You're not going to, that's not going to help you save money. Right. It's not going to happen.
You're still spending
the Switch
money.
Isn't going to go. Right. The Switch isn't going to go on sale, at least any significant sale, anytime soon. You might save $50 a couple months down the road or whatever on the Switch, but not enough to break even, and especially not to save money on buying both the Wii U and also the Switch.
Yeah. No, totally. I feel like that's probably at this point, people buying Wii U's are probably more collectors than anything else.
Yeah.
I'd be almost interested in getting one. I'm not a collector. Like I would love to be, but I don't have the money for it. So like really the space. So that's just not really going to happen. But like, it'd be cool to have a Wii U while they're still fairly cheap, but it's just not even worth it for that. Cause like, there's not even that many games that are only on the Wii U that I can't just get now anyway, or that I'm pretty sure will be coming out fairly soon. So yeah.
I mean, it's so not worth it that when I got my Switch, and I have a Wii U.
Right.
When I got my Switch, I was like, yeah, I know that all these games are going to give a place. We're going to get a new Smash Brothers. We're going to get a new Splatoon. We're going to get a new, X, Y, and D. I'm going to just sell these as we get the new thing, or when the new thing at least is announced. That worked for Mario Kart. Mario Kart got me like $20-$30 or whatever.
Yep.
But by the time we got around to like Smash Brothers isn't worth anything anymore on the Wii U. So it's like, I don't even want to sell it. I just rather keep it. Like I think GameStop, which is the worst metric for selling a thing, but GameStop is like giving like $15 store credit. 15, not 50.
Yeah.
But like I was like, nah, it's not happening. I can't do it. So I'm just going to have my Wii U, and I guess it's going to be the Mario Maker machine because there's literally nothing else on it that my Switch doesn't also have.
Yep. Yeah, one of the things that's on it, for example, is Breath of the Wild, and it's possible that it's not going to be the only Breath of the Wild game, and that it won't have one soon, because there's a rumor that the sequel is coming, I don't know, kind of soon. This is like super rumor territory. I mean,
Right.
we've heard lots of rumors that they will do the same in-engine sequel, like Majora's Mask kind of thing. But this one is, I guess, just another one to add to the pile, but seems a little more pointed maybe than other times. It's really vague, I'm going to say that. But so the backstory is King Zell, which is he's a fairly trusted Reset Era contributor.
Right.
He hinted in a post that Metroid Prime trilogy and a quote-unquote 2D game will be coming this year, and probably, in the upcoming Direct, I guess. And so Metroid Prime Trilogy totally makes sense. The 2D game,
Right.
we're kind of speculating 2D Zelda, that I don't know what else you would like refer to when you're saying like 2D at this point, because everything else has their 2D counterparts, as it were.
I mean, he could be talking about Metroid. I think Metroid Prime. Not Metroid Prime. Metroid Returns. I think that sold
Samus
pretty
Return.
well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I'm curious. I mean, we haven't really heard anything about the future of 2D Metroids, but like if they bother to go back for that, it seems like they would do it again. So you're right. He could be talking about that.
Right. But also, we have like explicitly heard Nintendo talk about specifically Alan Numa talk about wanting to make 2D Zelda games on the Switch.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So,
That's also possible.
So it's possible that is what the 2D game is. But then in a separate post, he also said, if you liked Breath of the Wild, you will like this year, which is super vague. But
right. That can mean anything. Hopefully, you know what I think I want, and I want that to mean? I want that to mean that Pokemon is the thing that's like, hey, you like Breath of the Wild?
That would
You're
be
really going to like
fantastic.
Pokemon 2019. You're really going to like that.
Yeah.
You're really going to like that.
I'd be totally down with that. I mean, like, I think there's a Q&A that has to do with Pokemon later, and so I'll share some more thoughts on that. But like 100%, based on some of the stuff that's been rumored for Pokemon as well, like that would be fantastic if they kind of took it in more of that approach. I would be fine with either. I feel like, honestly, this year wouldn't be a good year for the sequel of Breath of the Wild if that happens, but I feel like next year would be really good.
Yeah.
So if they announce it this year and it comes out next year, man, I'd be a happy camper. Like,
honestly, this year is already stacked.
Yeah, seriously.
There's no room for a big game.
I'm afraid.
There's no room for it.
I'm afraid the stuff that are not afraid, but like, a lot of people seem to think that even, Metroid Prime 4 and or Bayonetta may not come out this year, which
I don't know about either one of those coming out, honestly.
No, I really
because
don't.
like we haven't seen literally anything from either of them.
Yep.
So it wouldn't surprise me if either one of those games did. But then again, I mean, we didn't see anything from Mario Odyssey until like 7 months before it came out or something crazy like that. Like, so, they've done crazier things in the past.
Yeah, and I think, this, even if we don't see anything about Metroid Prime 4 at this Direct, which I don't think we would, but I don't know, maybe. If we see Metroid Prime Trilogy, which again seems really strongly rumored, but it says coming 2019, there's no way that Metroid Prime 4 is coming out this year, because I feel like the only way Metroid Prime 4 is coming out this year, if there's also a Metroid Prime Trilogy, is that if the trilogy comes out really early. Like
Right.
So early, because
that would have to be out. That would have to be out by like March.
Yeah.
for
March,
that to
February,
make sense.
maybe April at the latest. But even then, like, I feel like you'd get a bunch of fatigue this year if you had a trilogy come out and then later that year had the, because like I've barely played Metroid Prime. I played the first one a little bit, but then it was fairly recently, and I was like, I think a trilogy is going to be coming out maybe on the Switch. So like, I'd rather just play this on my Switch. So I'll hold off for a bit. But if I played all three of those this year and then later Metroid Prime 4 came out, like that might be a bit much. So I don't know. Hard to say. But curious how that one turns out. We'll, maybe look back at that a year's time and see what it means, if anything at all. But yeah. And then continuing on with Breath of the Wild, this one isn't even so much a news article, but this is our last one for today, is that in like one of the books that Nintendo puts out of, concept art and all that kind of stuff, they talked with Takafumi Kiyuchi, who is the lead artist on Breath of the Wild. And he said he was tasked to design Guardians before he even knew if they were Link's friend or foe. And in his quote, we gained a little extra insight into some inspiration and all that kind of stuff, and a couple extra things. So yeah, his exact quote is, "I had to design them to look neutral, as it wasn't yet decided whether the Guardians would be your allies or enemies." And then a little bit later he says, "In addition to the Guardians that ended up in the game, there was a design for a giant fortress-like Guardian that was equipped with multiple beam cannons, but we were unable to implement it." Which I thought was really interesting.
Breath of the Wild 2.
Exactly.
Guardian 2.0 confirmed he's going to be your best friend. It's going to be Zelda, the Iron Giant. That's confirmed.
Instead of Navi, like instead of hey, listen, you just got this giant fortress of a Guardian. Like every time you turn around, he's just behind you trolling around.
Yeah, and if you take too long, he just picks you up and throws you in the direction you need to go.
Yeah, that would be, I don't know if fun or, intimidating or something, but it would be some kind of adjective, that's for sure. Yeah. So I don't know. He has a couple more things that he mentions on that. So that article's on Nintendo Everything if anybody else wants to check it out and read the full thing. But I just thought that was interesting to hear that was in there. But yeah. And that's it for the news for this week. So we could
talk about my video.
Hey, that sounds great.
And I pulled comments, but first I want to talk about more thoughts on the video. Do you have more thoughts? What do you think?
Man, I've got a lot. I won't go like too much in depth or whatever, but yeah.
That's what we're here for, man.
Heck yeah, never mind. I'm going to go super in depth.
People always asking for longer podcasts. Let's shoot, you know what? Let's shoot for like at least hour 45. We're like almost at an hour right now.
So I'm on another podcast, and that's always the thing. It's like, ooh, we hit 2 hours. All right, like we need to scale back.
I mean,
a little
people
bit.
Usually want us to hit 2 hours.
No, I'm down. So yeah, so your video, it was honestly great. I agreed with a lot of the things in it, and have kind of some of the things I didn't agree with, and then other ones.
How dare you?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do. I just I'm a rabble rouser. I like to get trouble going. Whole lot of fun. So, and then a couple things I just have some various slightly different thoughts on. So I'm just going to go kind of chronologically because I took some notes as you were going. The first thing you talked about a bunch was New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. We talked a little bit about that earlier in the video, but you mentioned that when it first came out, you weren't super enthusiastic about it. But then you also mentioned that you're more receptive now to it because it's been longer since those games. And I think the fact that game's coming out now also says some other things. You kind of mentioned Mario Maker, and I think totally the problem with it when it came out, I think, was that it kind of felt to so many Nintendo specifically gamers that Nintendo was just catering to casuals for so long. Like the Wii was fairly heavy casual focused. I mean, kind of core gamers as well. And then towards the end of it, it just got more and more casual and shovelware and that kind of stuff. And then right out the gate showing that the Wii U, because I think that was one of the first games announced, wasn't it? For the Wii U?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was the launch game.
Yeah. So like at that point, you're kind of like, is this going to be what this is? Like finally we've got an HD Nintendo system and it's coming out with this game that's based off of graphics from, a DS, which is not unexciting in some ways. Like it's cool and all, but it's just it just shows a bad precedent.
It was nowhere near as epic as the first ever HD Mario game should be.
Yeah.
Like, and that kind of held true through the rest of the Mario games that we got on Wii U, except for maybe Mario Maker. I really like Mario Maker.
Yeah.
But it's just like Odyssey would have been that game that everybody's like I feel like if Switch happened, like even if it was kind of like more Wii U-esque in like design and stuff like that, like if Switch happened with all the same games and stuff like that, but it was Wii U would have succeeded.
Right.
I think a big reason why Wii U didn't succeed is because not only did they not know what it was in terms of like concept on a hardware level, but it was because they didn't know what it was on a games level. They were like, they had one foot in the hardcore market and another foot in trying to be Wii still.
Yeah.
But with Switch, they're like, nah. This is a hardcore console. We're at PlayStation 4 on the go. That's what we're doing.
And I think they've also, like, because Mario Maker hasn't come out, they've starved people for 2D Mario a good amount. So, you know, people have been wanting specifically Mario Maker, and that hasn't happened yet. But now people will be more receptive to just anything 2D Mario because everything else we've gotten on the Switch Mario-wise, I mean, 2D Mario-wise, is just on the NES Online stuff, which is like...
that, and also that trash arcade port.
yeah, that's... I've heard lots of good things about that. Sarcastic, it's obviously.
Awful.
So, and I feel like, honestly, like, everybody wonders why hasn't Mario Maker come out yet, and this is the reason why, is because I'm guessing they've been waiting for them to be able to port this game. They probably wondered if they were going to in the first place, I'd imagine, because I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. So finally, once this game is coming out, then they can put Mario Maker on the Switch, because I don't think the other way around would sell quite as well, where, like, you give people the freedom of Mario Maker and then give them the restriction of a, like, full, you know, confined game. That's great design, but, you know, doesn't have the freedom that Mario Maker has. No.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be going backwards in terms of, like, hey, here's this game where you can literally make new Super Mario Bros. U.
Yeah, honestly, and I don't know. I mean, I think you guys have talked about what 2D Mario is going to be like in the future, or what the future for it holds, and I really don't know. Like, once Mario Maker is here, they're going to have to be far-reaching and, like, really change it for it to stand for a new, Super Mario Bros. Game to come out and actually be exciting.
Hey man, I made that joke in the video.
Did you?
I did the whole thing where it was like, I want a new Super Mario Bros. Game that truly does feel new.
Yep.
You know, I did the whole, like, pronunciation and, like, I did that.
Look at you
go.
go. Yep.
And I did a graphic on the screen. It was great. People like that video. It has a lot of views. Everybody go watch that video. Get it to 100,000.
Heck yeah.
Thank you very much. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that is the really easiest thing that they could do to, like, make a new Mario game feel like new and fresh is just the art style. Like, new Super Mario Bros. Feels so, like, by the numbers and, like, you know, like, just churned out.
Yeah, I mean,
in comparison,
the appeal of the first one, I feel like, was just the fact that it's like, wow, this is Mario now, but he looks, like, crisp and, you know, looks like Mario should, and, like, we're used to seeing him, but in a 2D plane. Whereas now, like, that's not novel anymore for him to look good. You know, like Mario Run,
right now
he
it's
looks
novel
good.
to make him look crappy, make him look like he's drawn in crayon,
straight
like,
up Mario 64 graphics, just polygons and stuff. That would be great, actually, if they just had skins for, Mario Maker comes out and they just have skins for it where it's like, it plays just like new Super Mario Bros. Levels or whatever, but you have Mario 64 skins, and
that was also, well, not Mario 64, but that was in that Mario Maker video, or you could just have skins and you could get Paper Mario DLC and all that crap. You want to be a Paper Mario jumping around in freaking Mario Brothers level? There you go. It's in that video. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends.
Just plug in your videos for you. No big deal. No big deal. So yeah, those were the thoughts that I had on the NSMBU stuff. And yeah, moving on, the rest of the stuff you talked about was pretty much focused on the Direct. So some of that we've covered a little bit, but a bunch we haven't. You mentioned Persona 5R, and that it's probably not going to show up in here, but it's probably still coming. Totally agree. That's, yeah, I feel like, especially because they mentioned when they did that teaser thing that it, you know, showed PlayStation and all that, and then mentioned, like, news on 3/1. Like, I guess we'll probably see it at that date. Maybe that's the date Joker comes out, and then I don't know, they, you know, reveal that that's coming to Switch as well or something. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was the case.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense, especially if it was like I said something about each quarter corresponding with the Smash Brothers character. If Joker came out in March, that would make a lot of sense.
Here's talking about directs and stuff too. One, and Smash Bros. DLC fighters. So I didn't have a Wii U, so I wasn't around during that hype cycle. And I heard people talk about how all these trailers would come out and they'd be like, oh, what's this new game? What's going on here? And then it turns out it's a Smash Bros. DLC character. Before Ultimate came out, I was like expecting that every time. And so then I wasn't really blindsided by any of them. So when the Isabelle stuff happened, like I was like, oh, this is going to be Isabelle in Smash. But now, like, I'm a little bit nervous now because I'm going to get excited for some of this stuff, and then it's going to turn out that, I'll fall victim to all that. So,
right. Or what if it's in reverse? Like, what if a game is announced and you really want that to be a fighter, and it's just a game trailer?
Yep.
You're like, oh man, I really wanted Goku, but this is another Dragon Ball Z game. No, but anyway.
Totally.
But yeah, like that happened specifically, and it was like the one that I'll never forget is the Rosalina Luma trailer because it had layers of disappointment.
Oh,
it was like I saw Kirby and I'm like, oh, is this the two? Like that's another video. Everybody go check it out. I had a whole two video series on why Kirby sucks now. But anyway, I was like, is this going to be the like epic Kirby game that I've been wanting for such a long time? And then it was like, oh no, maybe it's Kirby Air Ride, and it was like, oh no, maybe Kirby's in Mario Kart, and then it was like Rosalina Luma. What? I don't want this game.
Yeah.
It was like layers of disappointment. And it was like, I don't care about Rosalina like that.
Yep. Yeah, and I've heard.
But yeah,
was it Dark Pit or no? It's Palutena. It was the one where it was like all anime or whatever, and everybody's like, no, I just want a Nintendo anime.
Yeah,
100% agree. Like that would be amazing. But yeah,
that happened. The one that I was definitely like, and I don't know if you were in that stream or not, but we live streamed the direct that had the original Smash Brothers Ultimate, not Ultimate at the time, but the Smash Brothers trailer.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody was like Dan and Bob were like, oh, is this Splatoon? Is this a Splatoon thing? I'm like, are you guys stupid? Like, this is clearly Smash Brothers. Yeah. Like, this is Smash Brothers. Like, just look at like, and that was the whole thing that led to like, like the is this a port or not? Because it looked like Smash Brothers Wii U, and it was like the same marketing strategy as Smash Brothers Wii U, and we didn't know anything else. So.
Yep. Yeah, no, that one was especially because I wasn't in that stream, but I was watching it and I was confused for a second too. Like there was all this Splatoon stuff, and I haven't played Splatoon at all, so I just was a little bit tuned out. I was a little bit tuned out for the Splatoon bits, but I was like, okay, they announced more DLC for online stuff. They announced single player DLC and. Or it wasn't DLC for online stuff, but like extra online modes and stuff. And I was like, what in the world else could they be announcing for Splatoon? And then I was like, Smash.
People were like, well, Dan, and I think it was people in the chat that were also saying that, but they were like, is this Splatoon 1? Are they releasing Splatoon? I was like, why would they even do that?
No sense, yeah.
Splatoon 2 is just Splatoon 1. Like, that's pretty much what it is. There's some, like, story bits in Splatoon 1.
Right.
But it's like, that's like 20 levels. Yeah. They're not going to release that game.
After Call of Duty Black Ops 4 comes out, we're going to release Black Ops 3. Man.
I don't know why you would do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. The next thing in the video too, you mentioned a platinum announcement. And so Wonderful 101 or Star Fox Zero. I feel like Wonderful 101.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was both.
Yeah. I feel like Wonderful 101 totally makes sense. I would see that one. And I feel like Star Fox Zero, I don't see happening, mostly because of the rumored Star Fox Grand Prix thing. And
oh yeah, that's true.
Feel like if they released like both of the, it's not like one's a prequel to the other. So like Metro Prime Trilogy going into Metro Prime 4 or Bayonetta 1 and 2 going into Bayonetta 3. Like those make sense because they're setting it up. Whereas this I feel like would sort of compete with itself unless Star Fox Grand Prix is that far away.
To be fair, Star Fox Grand Prix and also like reworked Star Fox Zero that is like a true Star Fox game. It's kind of like quieting the storm, because like a lot of people are going to have the reaction that Logan had.
Yeah, that's
where it's
true.
Like, this isn't the Star Fox that I wanted. I want a Star Fox game that's a Star Fox game. So if they do that and turn Star Fox Zero into that's like double whammy. Yeah. It's like turning what was a negative thing into a positive thing and giving people that Star Fox game that they want that is a Star Fox game, and then also giving them this new like experimental thing to see how it works.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think it depends on release window too. Is like if they do them super close together, it wouldn't make sense. But yeah, if they do them far enough apart, like I could see that. And I'm not that pessimistic or I'm more optimistic in any case about Star Fox Grand Prix, that like I'm hoping that it's one of those things where the marketing for, or not even the marketing, but the rumors for it are saying like it's a racing game, but really it's more, I've also heard other people say it's more like a reimagining of, you know, what a Star Fox game should be in the first place. So I'm hoping it's not like just an F-Zero game, but in space with, you know.
Because for me, the reason, like, both me and Logan were kind of like down on the Grand Prix. I'm more like optimistic because I know Retro Studios is supposed to be working on it, and they just make good games. But the thing for me was less about having a Star Fox game that's not a Star Fox game, and more about having a Star Fox game that should just be an F-Zero game.
Right, totally. Yes, that would be super disappointing, because especially not only does it not provide Star Fox stuff, but it also takes away from possible F-Zero stuff. Like, you wouldn't want to have a Star Fox F-Zero game and an actual F-Zero game at the same time. So yeah, that would deflate anybody who wanted an F-Zero game as well, which would suck.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah. But Wonderful 101, I could totally see that happening. I still feel like probably Star Fox Zero wouldn't, but if it did, that would be awesome, because I, again, have not played it, so I would definitely be down to do that. Yeah, and then you mentioned DLC for Mario Kart or Smash. Mario Kart, again, they haven't started that process yet of, like, coming back to DLC. But if they would, Mario Kart's the one that makes sense to do it with, and then that just sets their own precedent from there. So, like... it makes so much sense for them to do it. It's just a question of, will they actually, you know, bite the bullet and do it?
I think they even said that they plan to do more content for Mario Kart. But I don't know, like, to what extent. Like, we already got some,
right.
Like, with the Breath of the Wild.
You're right, yeah, because they mentioned that, I think, around the time with the Labo integration.
Right. It was, like, literally, like, a week or so before the Breath of the Wild thing happened, where they're like, "Oh, here's Breath of the Wild link," you know, and like they're like making good on that immediately. So I don't know how far those plans extend, and if that does mean like, here's DLC pack 3 and 4. Well, they probably wouldn't brand it like that, because the DLC packs aren't
1 and 2
DLC
for
packs.
me. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I could see that one happening if they're gonna do it. It just makes sense to do it. It's kind of, you know, just a question of how they want to go about all that. And then Me Costumes and other stuff. Me Costumes makes sense because it came up on their page. So, like, they haven't talked about that officially yet, really. So, you know, when else to talk about it than now? Like, just makes sense to do it.
And it would be weird for them to just be like, hey, here's Me Costumes, give us 75 cents like a piece, and you get nothing else, because who really cares about Me Costumes to that level where it's like, we want to see this in the direct. I can't wait until they show me Costumes, you know? Like,
yeah, honestly, and there'd be a bunch that I'd be super excited. Like, I mentioned Octopath Traveler before. I would love to get some Octopath Traveler Me Costumes, you know, assuming we're not going to get characters for that, I would doubt, in the game. If we did, that would be awesome. But...
See, that's the thing. Like, for me, the relationship I have with Me Costumes is like, they're disrespectful. This is like just flat out saying like, you suck and you don't deserve to be in this game. Because like with the last game, they had the Inkling DLC, for the Me Costumes, and now like they had Gino, and it's like it's kind of like, nah, you're not going to be in the game. Get over it. You know, like it's like, man. But I mean, to be fair, they also did new Inkling Me Costumes, and also King K. Rool Me Costumes.
I mean,
and they're in the game.
And so. I guess the argument is that like those Me Costumes were on the Wii U, and then now we're getting the characters on the Switch. So like, I wonder if what their precedent is.
Like there's like literally like different skins.
Oh, really?
For the like the Splatoon. I think they even call them Splatoon 2 Inkling costumes. Like there's the one with the, you know, they have like the boy Inkling that has like the hairdo, like with the like the Mohawk-esque kind of hairdo, and then they have like the shorter hair for the girl Inkling. And then also, I don't know if King K. Rool was one of the Me Costumes in the game. So I don't know. But there's a lot of stuff that people see in games or in Smash Brothers games, and are like, well, law says that means that X isn't gonna. It's like, please show us somebody show me these laws.
Yeah, right.
Like, where were they published at? Because this just sounds to me like you're trying to purport that you're part of the Smash Brothers development team to make yourself sound more important than you are.
And the number of times that we've reacted to anything like, whoa, Nintendo did that, like just switched up their own policies and stuff. Exactly. It's going to happen. There's no way it's not going to happen about some things. And so we can't pick and choose which ones it would or wouldn't happen for.
Yeah, exactly.
We can speculate for sure. But
I feel like the person that we could believe the least is Sakurai.
Right.
Because, he straight up said, oh, I hate DLC, and I would never do that in my game, blah, blah. I mean, he hasn't exactly said that, but more or less, he's like, games with DLC, you should ship a complete game. You shouldn't do DLC. Yeah. And here we are, DLC,
Yeah.
So...
Man, I still remember playing Brawl and being like, it would be great if they could just, sell you extra characters that, there's a bunch of characters I'd love to play as, and, I'd pay for some extra characters. And then I talked to somebody about it once when the Wii U was out, and, because I had, wasn't paying attention, and they were like, oh, yeah, they did that in this one. I was like, oh, cool.
I made a video about that, but it was, a long time ago. We had, a couple hundred subscribers at this time. It's my third video I ever made, period. And it was about basically making Smash Brothers Ultimate. Yeah. Making this game that's this platform, and they use it to push their other games, because they kind of already do that with Smash Brothers and stuff like that. So basically what I'm saying is I'm a prophet.
Pretty much.
Moving on to comments.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's
Oh wait, are we done with your breakdown?
Honestly, I've got more thoughts, but they'll come out in the comments.
Okay, continue. Keep going.
You mentioned Smash character reveal and that there probably won't be one. Totally agree. I don't think it's until the next one comes out. I don't think they're going to reveal the next one. So that's my thoughts. It could be different, but we'll see. And then moving on. Travis Strikes Again, you mentioned you're not super excited, and I have pretty much the same thoughts, but I don't know, we'll see. I feel like they might talk about it in there. And then there's two other bits that you had. One was Yoshi, and that you did a 180 on that, and I pretty much not even the same, because I was pretty excited about Yoshi in the first place, but I was also worried. I thought Kirby Star Allies was going to be better than Yoshi was. And then from just the trailers and then seeing a bit of Kirby in action, I was like, that's not going to be that great. Right. And then, whatever.
Makes me sad.
But then Yoshi, on the other hand, the more I see it, I feel like the, easy to approach but hard to master kind of thing is true in especially the areas of puzzling kind of stuff. It's not going to be particularly hard to platform through the levels, but getting the puzzling aspects of it right is something that Kirby definitely didn't have, where everything was just right there in front of you. And so I would have loved to...
I feel like people misconstrue what I mean when I say I want a game to be mechanically interesting. Right. The second that I say, oh, this game is too easy, it's borderline brain dead, they're like, oh, well, this is a kid's game, which I also dispute. But I don't think that a game that is supposed to be approachable, and also I don't think that inherently means that a game needs to be it needs to play itself, when I was a kid, and I assume when you were a kid, we had freaking crazy hard games. Yeah. And that was the point, you were supposed to get good at it, and that's what made you better at the next game. So it's I don't think that kids are incapable of playing a game that gives you a little bit of pushback. I don't, like I said in the video, I don't expect it to be Dark Souls, but at least make it interesting. Yeah. Mario Odyssey is not hard, but it's interesting.
Right. It gives you pushback for sure. You don't just cruise through every single thing. I mean, sure. And once you get the mechanics down, at this point, if I see something that I'm supposed to be able to get to, I can get to it by using the means that it gives me. But it took me a while to figure that out. And it's, I don't know. It's good.
Right. And it's I guess a way to illustrate this is I don't have a particularly hard time beating Bob in Smash Brothers.
Right.
But it is still fun.
Yeah.
Because the game is mechanically interesting, and that's what I want. out of all my games, really, but especially Kirby.
Yeah.
Because Kirby's like this big brand and like this character that matters.
And it's so diverse that you would want the diversity to change it, but it doesn't. Like, you know, when you have different abilities, ideally it should make the mechanics different enough that you're like, wow, I'm using this ability. I prefer to use this one. But really it's like, no, this one looks cooler to me, but I'm still going to kill enemies just as easily.
Yeah, exactly. And in the same exact way, it's just a different color.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's but Yoshi on the other hand, I'm excited about. I'll be curious to see when even more of it comes to fruition, but so far I'm pretty stoked on it. And my wife's excited about it too, so that's fun. There's not a ton of games that we play together, but she seems like she'll possibly enjoy playing with me. So
that's always a good time.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry I have so many thoughts, but those were pretty much all.
It's fine. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. So I guess now we can get to the people's thoughts.
Yeah.
So let me pull that up. Wait, I don't have it. You have it.
I do have it. Yeah.
So you're reading it. It's your job now. Well, it was Logan's job before.
I would be more than happy to. All right, we'll just go top to bottom, I guess, of the ones that you sent. So Squantle says, I would love to see more videos like this at the beginning of each quarter. You could also cover the biggest news from the previous quarter in the video because you don't always touch on recent news indirectly to you. Make it a defined series with a name if you want so it doesn't get mixed up with action points. I can see it now. Switch Up, episode 2 on April 1st. News indirectly to you.
Bucko. But no, I mean... I've always been weird about like making new series, because I wanted to be like drastically different, right? Like Directly to You has new branding and is different because the show is drastically different from Action Point, right? So if I were to do more of those videos, which I feel like I'm going to do, it would still be Action Point. The thing about that video, I'm definitely doing another one of those because like it's hard for me, like I said in the video, it's hard for me to gauge like, okay, did people really like this because it's not performing like the last time I did something similar or whatever. This video, especially in engagement, did really well. I asked people for thumbs up and stuff like that. That video got like around what a video that gets 10 times the views on our channel usually gets an engagement. So
it didn't circulate as much, but the people that liked it or that watched it liked it.
No, it's doing pretty well. It's like our videos usually like they're weird with like how they grow. Yeah. Especially now. Where it's like the first day or so we'll get like 1,000 to 2,000 views. And then if it got it fast enough, we can expect it to like multiply by like 10 times. If not more. Like I put out that I did how many games? 13 games or something like that. The games that I wanted on the Switch or something like that. The 2018 games or whatever. The one with the like Luigi's Mansion and the thumbnail and like all that stuff. That one with the 3 game cases. I did that and it did fine at first, but now it's at like 29,000 views and it's still growing. So it's like, or Logan's Pikmin video. That video underperformed, but now that video is also sitting at around 20,000 views. So it's like our videos usually are like a slow burn. I would like them to speed up. So if you guys can like, comment, and share the videos, that'd be great. That'd be great.
100%. But yeah, so we got news now. That's awesome. Ken Daniel Murphy says, Happy New Year to you, AJ. Totally agree with you on the new Super Mario Bros. Series and most of your points, as always. We need Mario Maker on Switch very badly. It has such a huge online presence. I don't understand why they haven't cranked that out. To hit their 20 million goal or come even close, they need to hit about 1.5 to 2 million per month on average worldwide through March. To meet that, I'm hoping we get Animal Crossing early, though more likely a summer release, and some must have a surprise like Mario Maker or Pikmin 4. Again, unlikely. Of course, Persona 5, Metroid Prime Trilogy, Netflix app, and Switch UI update with Slick Game Organization would help too.
Happy New Year. But also, I think that they have more than what they need for Switch to hit that goal, especially since like we don't even really know for sure how much Switch sold over holiday with Smash Brothers and Pokemon and stuff like that. So once we figure that out, then we'll see how close they got to the goal, because the bulk of that goal is going to be that like 2 month, not even 2 month, like month and a half period of like Pokemon being out and Smash Brothers being out. Once we know that, that's when we'll be able to see like, okay, which, I mean, really we won't know until they hit the goal, really, if they hit it or not. And I think I don't think that they need anything crazy to do that this year. I think that's buttoned up.
Yeah,
because they're already relatively close. They only needed like 8 million more.
I mean, and I think your point of in the video too about Yoshi coming out in March, like that's one of those things where it makes too much sense. If they don't, like, that sucks, and that's a mistake, I feel like. But if it comes out early March so that it can bolster that, and then especially if, like, I don't know, Metroid Prime Trilogy comes out in February or something like that, that would just be super helpful to get these last couple months that sometimes are slow to actually be, you know, just as high performing as they can be, and then like kind of finish that all out. So yeah,
something I regret not mentioning in that video, because it just, I mean, it even, like, it doubles down on that point, is, you know, another game that was released around that time last year, Kirby came out that time last year. 100%. So that, hey, you know, like, it proof positive that it works and that they like doing that. So do it again.
Yep. Yeah, no, that would be fantastic. And yeah, I feel like a lot of those games too. I agree, Ken, with your point right there at the end about the Switch UI update with slick game organization. That would be fantastic.
I wish.
Man, I have a bunch of folders on my computer because I like to keep stuff organized, and it would be really nice to be able to do that on my Switch as well. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that pans out.
I have a bunch of folders, and I find that it makes me less organized. But I have like folders that go like they're tiers. So it's like I have two main folders where it's like I have the Fanatics 4 folder, and then that's like all our assets and all that stuff like that. And then I have another folder that's like video specific assets. And then it's like, it gets weird because it's like, okay, here's the Twitch assets, and here's the Twitter assets, and here's our live stream stuff, and it's like all over the place. And it's like there's some stuff that applies to more than one folder. So like the live streaming folder, and then also that applies with Twitch and YouTube. So it's weird. Yep. It's weird.
But yeah, so I'm curious about Animal Crossing, like you mentioned, and Mario Maker. Pikmin 4, I don't see Pikmin 4 coming out this year just because there's already so much stuff. But I mean, like Logan mentioned in his video, which go watch that video because it's a great one, that, you know, it kind of could come out anytime, as far as it seems like they're more or less done with it. They just need to actually kind of pull the trigger. So
yeah, I feel like Nintendo does that a lot. Like, I feel like Mario Odyssey was done like 5 months before it came out.
Yeah.
But they're like, you know what, it makes more sense for us to like Mario's going to sell out anytime. Any point in time it's going to sell. It probably makes more sense to put it in front of people's faces near holiday, because that's just going to make that much more important. Zelda doesn't really have that same power. Maybe it does now, but it didn't then. So let's put that out where nothing else competes with it. So I think that Pikmin is like that sort of thing where it's like, oh, we don't have anything else here.
Right.
Let's just, we don't have a October game or
Let
whatever.
It be the game of the month, as opposed to right next to one of the other ones. Because I mean, that's why, like, probably, what was it, Fire Emblem Warriors or whatever came out right around Mario Odyssey, and like it sold all right, but not great. Probably because it was competing with that, and even though it's a really different game.
Yeah, like that game came out like a week or so before Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, exactly, which is like, ugh, that's kind of tight.
Yeah, that's crazy. But then again, I mean, Nintendo likes doing that a lot. Yeah. But it depends on, I think they usually try to make it so that the games don't directly have anything to do with each other. Like, I think it might have even been, which is weird, I think it was like Mario and Pokemon that came out on the same day. It was like
that sounds
Mario
right.
3.
Yeah.
It was like, or maybe it was this, I don't remember. It was something that I bought both of the games, but but it was like a Smash Brothers game or something. Like, they do that a lot, where they put out both games at the same time, and a lot of times it's different platforms, or at least it was. Like, I think the 3DS version of Smash Brothers came out the same day as like Mario 3D World or something weird like that. Yeah,
no, I'm curious how that's going to turn out, and like, what this year is going to look like in general. I mean, hopefully we'll find out that in about a week or so. Next comment comes from Jordan DeBest, and he says, Detective Pikachu port for Switch is my prediction. What I want is for Nintendo to make big games. What I want for is Nintendo to make big games. I'm glad most of the smaller games already got ported so that they don't have to make them. I want stuff like an announcement for Kid Icarus and just more blockbuster titles. I like a whole lot of what came out in 2018, but they feel like a lot of them were safe titles. I'm happy it seems like Nintendo is bringing out the big guns this year, hopefully.
That comment confuses me. Because, I mean, I agree, but it kind of contradicts itself. Because, like, I want big games like Kid Icarus.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you see where I'm
I
getting
think,
at?
I mean, Kid Icarus is one of those maybe where it's like, maybe what he means is more ambitious rather than actually, high performing. Because Kid Icarus, I feel like, maybe wouldn't sell particularly great, but I mean, if Sakurai's working on it, especially, it's going to be feature packed and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully not break everybody's hands.
I mean, I love that game. I love the Kid Icarus Uprising, and I wish it sold more, but it did not. I think it was like, at most, it was like 500,000 copies, which on a console with the install base of like 70 million is not too great. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like... So it's like, I don't know. But again, maybe with fixed controls and a new, like, now active install base. Because I think that's another thing that people forget, is that the fact that a console sold X amount of units doesn't mean that that's the amount of units that are available to the developers. Like, things happen. People break things. They lose things. Sometimes, like, a lot of those consoles they're out of commission. Yeah. So it's like, at any given time, you may be looking at, like, maybe half of the consoles that you sold.
Especially 3DS, when they had so many iterations and so many like special editions and stuff, where like, there's people now that have like 6 3DSs, and for every one of those there's 10 people that have only one or whatever, but still that that kind of adds up to where eventually you've got a bunch of people that again don't make up that total number value. You don't have 70,000 people or 70 million people with 3DSs. More so, you just have 70 million 3DSs out there. But
and a lot of those are also like, okay, so say at the time that Kid Icarus came out, they sold 250,000 units, and there was 5 million Switches. A lot of those, not Switches, 3DSs. So a lot of those people that had 3DSs, a lot of them are all in the same house. And they're sharing that copy of Kid Icarus Uprising. So that's another wrinkle in that, especially since digital wasn't as big as it is now, and it's still not like the biggest thing for Nintendo. In most territories. Yeah. No, I think so. Jordan's comment just in general is interesting. I think it's true where, like, he says, hopefully Nintendo's bringing out the big guns this year. They definitely for sure. And I think what's kind of what they were doing, it seems like, is it feels to me a bit like spreading butter on toast or whatever, where you put a ton of butter in the middle of the piece and then you just spread it out, to where we saw all this stuff that was going to be coming out last year, but then it ended up being spread out as far as like all the ports. They're kind of just like, all right, we're going to hold off with all these ports so that we can keep working on bigger stuff. And then at this point, they still have momentum so that it doesn't have a Wii U type situation where you just have droughts because they've, they're actively working on everything as it's coming out. But like you said, they've got Pikmin 4 maybe just waiting in the wings for when there's a free space for it. So they're trying to be, I would imagine, responsible with their IPs as opposed to just, throwing them out as soon as they're able to or whatever. Right. Like, a lot of people look at this year, or last year, like it was like this, like it was a drought, but it was the biggest year for the Switch. It really was. Like, the fact that Smash Bros. Came, like, in that small little pocket of the year, they had the fastest selling Switch game changed twice. Yeah. I think what it was is like the people that are mostly complaining about it or whatever feel like there weren't enough like original, new, high, quality Nintendo games, like first party games, which that's kind of a high bar to set, just because that's just not always what's needed either. Like, I think 2018 was exactly what was needed, but it might not be exactly what people who owned every single game on the Wii U wanted, and like sometimes I feel like people get secondhand, I don't know, not embarrassment, but like secondhand, something where they feel like, well, I didn't have a Wii U and I didn't play Tropical Freeze on the Wii U, but it was already out, so I don't want to get it because it's not new. Where it's like, if it hadn't come out, I think they probably would have gotten it out of at least curiosity. Because it's like, just remove the full title of the game, but the IP. We got a Donkey Kong game. We got a new Toad game. Right. We got Bayonetta. We got Smash Brothers. We got like
Kirby, Mario Tennis. All this stuff.
Exactly. We got all these crazy IP in this one year, and for all intents and purposes, last year or 2017 was the same. Where it was like, we got a lot of stuff that we got before. Yeah. Like, we got Splatoon 2, which was more or less Splatoon 1.5, like, we got...
How dare you, AJ? I'm totally kidding,
I'm just saying. I love Splatoon, but Splatoon 2 is not. It's not reinventing the wheel.
No, for sure.
I would say the only new games that we got that were like these crazy, like, oh man, it's this crazy new big experience, is, and I'm talking like indisputable, and then I'm going to have one asterisk, is Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. Yep. That's it. And then the asterisk is Mario and Rabbids if you're stupid.
I will stand by that game a little bit. I did get it. I know you and Logan do not particularly, well, especially Bob seems to really hate it.
Logan, I think Logan likes it because he's stupid, like I said. But Bob and me, we hate it. Also, I mean, Bob's stupid too. For this,
we've got a club.
It's
a fun club. Yeah. Yeah, no, man. I thought that was one where like I didn't know pretty much anything about it. My wife got it for me for my birthday, and I was like, "Oh, interesting." How dare she? And then I played it. I was like, "Man, this is a whole lot of fun." But yeah, super weird mashup of characters, and I also didn't have any preconceived notions about the Rabbids going in. Like I just hadn't experienced them in the Rayman context, so I was like, "Oh, these kind of weird characters or something that I knew people didn't like from hearing about people not liking them in this context." But once I went into it, it was like, "No, it was a fun game." But I also totally understand the dislike for it.
I still say that game succeeded because David
yep,
something.
Yeah, totally don't remember his last name.
That dude.
Yep.
Him crying sold that game.
You're not wrong. Because
he cried at E3, and everybody's like, you know what? This game isn't a cash grab.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I mean, just like I feel like if you felt like it was a cash grab, then that totally changes the whole context and concept of that game too, where it's like, we want to make this strategy game, but we're just going to put Mario into it because Nintendo let us, as opposed to feeling like we really wanted to make a Mario game. This is the kind of game that we wanted to make, and then it turns out people loved it, and that kind of thing. Right. Yeah, I think you're right. That I actually hadn't thought of it in that way. So thank you for expanding my mind, AJ.
That's what I'm here for. That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Speaking of other people that pay you the big bucks and subscribe, Gilberto Caldera said on your video, "For me, I want a mystery dungeon game like every year. But I've lost hope on that. And, well, for this time, I want to know what Retro has been working on, or they have a release, a teaser, or something. This is what I want from 2019. I can see that.
This makes me curious because I don't think I've looked into this, but I'm going to do it now. So yeah, give your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So he wants a mystery dungeon game, which I've played just barely a little bit of, and it's not really particularly up my alley, but that's all right. And but as far as what Retro's been working on, I don't really see that coming in this direct. Particularly, especially if the Star Fox Zero thing happens like you were guessing at, but I don't know who's to say what actually happens there. But yeah, I don't really see the Retro title coming now. And again, rumors that it's Star Fox Grand Prix, but I feel like we'll see it this year. It seems like, I don't know, there wouldn't be so many rumors about it if it was so early in development that we wouldn't see it this year, is what makes sense to me. So I could definitely see that dropping probably in a... Because it's not a Nintendo... Well, no, it is a Nintendo first party.
So that's exactly what I was looking into. Because I wanted to know if this game was like, like a Genius seniority or whatever. I don't know how to say it. They're freaking... That company. One of their games or like Creatures or something like that.
Mystery Dungeon?
Spike Chunsoft develops those games.
Okay, so it wouldn't be taken away games. From anything Nintendo resources-wise.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah. I mean, so that could happen, especially, I could see that mid-year as well, because, like, if Pokemon Gen 8's coming out, Pokemon Gen 8's coming out, or 2019 or whatever, yeah, that would make sense for them to have something, but it seems like, I mean, do you think it would be something that would be, because they always seem to have that Game Freak, Pokemon Company thing right before E3, and that's probably when they'll first show off the Pokemon game for this year. Do you think that would be something where they would show, if there were a mystery dungeon game, that they would show it in a direct like now, or they would wait for that kind of an event?
I think they would wait until after the game came out, because they do usually have a mystery dungeon sometime after the new generation starts. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did that, but like maybe like a year or so after the game's already out and people know these new Pokemon and stuff like that, and they want to play with them in other contexts.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wasn't totally sure how that kind of release cycle went. Well, and the last comment on yours, and I'm not going to know a whole lot on this, and Logan might have more than either of us, but Super Smash Bros. Hausman says, I'm really excited for the Landgrisser 1 and 2 remakes for Switch in February. Though the Landgrisser series of games isn't popular in the West, known as Warsong when the game first was westernized. It's still a really important game because it'll be the first game back on a Nintendo platform since the 3DS Landgrisser game that flopped back in 2015.
This sounds like a Justin thing. I don't even think Logan would know what this is.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard stuff about Landgrisser and that, it's an RPG. I think a strategy RPG, if I'm not wrong. I could totally be wrong, though, so who's to say?
Man, that's 2 layers of like, that's just like a physical firewall of game that I cannot touch.
Yeah. So I don't know a ton about that other than people are pretty excited about it, which another one that was announced around the same time, I think, was the Grandia 1 and 2 remakes. And this is kind of off the cuff, so I'm not sure, but I think those already came out, those remasters or remakes or whatever. And that
No, I don't
They didn't?
think they
Okay,
did.
gotcha. I feel like I just heard somebody saying that like it's not looking as good or wasn't as good or something as they were hoping, but I could be totally off base on that. I don't know.
Oh my God, I hate Google so much.
So does Bing, so it's all right. Not that I use Bing at all.
Sponsored by Bing.
Yeah.
But no, I typed in Grandia Switch release date, and it gave me the original release date.
Every time. Yeah. No, that's...
I hate it.
100%. Okay, so that bugged me. This is an aside for sure. When EA Star Wars Battlefront came out 2 years ago. Last year. 2 years
Early
ago.
2019. Early 2019.
Oh, okay. So, gotcha. So we don't know yet.
So we're right around the corner from that.
Nice. But yeah, when Battlefront came out, I remember looking it up to see like how bad the reviews were or something like that. And because there's Battlefront 2 that came out in like 2002 or whatever back on Xbox and all that. And then there's also this newer Battlefront 2, the Google likes thing, like how many people liked this game was like 97% because everybody was liking for the old one. Instead of the new one, I was like, come on.
You're like, I'm looking for a game that everybody hates in this game.
I want to see how much they hate it. More or less. But yeah, no, I totally get you. That's annoying. But yeah, so those are all the comments on your video that we picked out. I don't know, any closing thoughts on all that?
Nope, just watch my next video. Thank you for watching this one. And if you didn't like, comment, and share, go do that too.
Yeah. All right, and then now, so just going straight through, these are some questions that y'all asked us, and we were excited to read. So Mudkips Uzumaki, Mudkips with a Z instead of an S, crazy, asked, a question is, what are you expecting from Luigi's Mansion and Gen 8 and other Nintendo IPs? Which is a little broad. Whole thing is concerned. But yeah, AJ, what are you expecting from Luigi's Mansion Gen 8 and other Nintendo IPs?
I want Luigi's Mansion to be, I don't know if I expect this, but I want it. I want it to be bigger. I don't want it to be like this like sidecar, a Luigi game.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like I want it to be like on par with like a Mario Odyssey, if not at least like half a step lower, not 5 blocks down the street.
Yeah.
Like where Mario Odyssey is like this like 10-15 hour epic or whatever, and Luigi's Mansion is like 6 hours long on a good day.
Yeah, I mean, because I played Luigi's Mansion, the original one, for the first time on the GameCube 2017, so 2 years ago, and it was great. Like, it was fun, but it's very arcadey in a sense where it just feels like it's a very confined experience. There is technically replay value, like if you want to get all the extra stuff and all that, like you can go in and do that, but it's pretty much like a new game plus kind of replay value, which is not the same as a Mario game where you're going back in just because it's like so fun to be in this world. So it would be great if that were bigger. I think one of my hopes for it specifically is just that it actually comes out around, it makes too much sense for it to come out around Halloween. If it doesn't, that would be such a disappointment. If it comes out in April or like September or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of people said, I mean, going backwards a little bit, in the comments of my video where it's like, I want Luigi's Mansion, and I like intentionally left that out because I'm like, no, that's a quarter 3 game.
Totally.
Like that's not happening now.
Or quarter 4 at that point even. So that's like even further away. Yeah. No, I can't.
I'm fine with it,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Just put it out. What day is that even? It's Halloween.
Oh man, year. If that's
I need to open my calendar.
Yeah. If that's a Friday, then how could they know?
If it's a Friday, 100%. Like that game's probably done, and they're like, you know what? We're not going to put it out until next year because that's just too perfect.
So it's a Thursday.
Oh,
which like
cancel the whole year. Cancel it.
I'm curious now. I'm looking at 2020. Would it have been better to? No, it would be a Saturday. It would skip it. Next year's a leap year, so this is the closest we're gonna get.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we're still right. Maybe it was done, and they're like, you know what? Nope, we can get closer to Halloween if we put it out this year, and they're just going to drop it on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. I hope it wasn't done. Just from having looked at the trailer, like it seemed like you were talking about hopefully it being a bigger budget game and stuff, or not even bigger budget, but just bigger scale, which I mean kind of implies bigger budget too. It seems a little bit unfinished from the stuff we've seen far.
Hey man, I'm saying it's done. The game's done.
Yeah,
and they just had the trailer from a while ago.
We
don't want to make a new trailer.
Yeah, they're like, this is our first trailer. We slated it a long time ago, and people get me impressed by how upgraded it is. Yeah,
we're not doing it.
Yeah, no.
And then we're just going to completely shock you with this game that's like, it looks like even better than Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, so that's Luigi's Mansion. He also asked about Gen 8, which I suspect you've got a video on that.
I have so many videos on Pokemon Gen 8.
And we even kind of talked about it before. I think the Breath of the Wild thing, if that rumor really means that like if you liked Breath of the Wild, you're going to like this year because, Gen 8 is going to be, or just the 2019 game is going to be more like Breath of the Wild in that sense. That's what I would love. Like if it's exactly a normal Pokemon game, I will enjoy it and I will be glad to have purchased it and played it. But if it's any kind of bigger scale, then that's 2 thumbs up in my book. Like,
I may or may not have a bigger video in the works that pertains to Gen 8 Pokemon. You should stay tuned for that.
I and everyone else shall. And other Nintendo IPs he mentions, I think kind of hard to answer that specifically. We kind of talk about that a bunch in the rest of this stuff. So I don't know if you have any specific thoughts on that, but we can skip to the next one if nothing else.
Yeah, we go to the next one.
So Lethal asks, thoughts on root beer in a non-chilled or frozen mug versus root beer in a frozen/chilled mug. There's a huge difference, trust me.
Hot take. Root beer is garbage. It's too sweet.
Good. Okay. I have an exactly opposite, less hot take. Specifically, okay, so I grew up in a country that was not the United States, and we did not have root beer. And so, like, anytime my dad would go back to the States for a little bit, he'd bring back root beer with him. So for me, regardless of, honestly, if it was, like, a good beverage or not, just the, like, nostalgia and, like, specialty of it being that was always, like, the most exciting thing. And one of my memories about why I like root beer so much, or not why I like it so much, but just that I think of all the time is there's a Hey Arnold episode where where they go bowling and Arnold's friend Gerald is like, I do super well because every time I bowl, I think about the thing that I love most in the world. So whenever I'd go bowling, I'd like throw the ball and think of root beer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Typical Nintendo fanboy. Just living on nostalgia.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So all that to say, a great question for me, Lethal. I don't even drink root beer all that much because I like to try to keep it special.
You know why you don't drink it? Because it's trash.
You hurt me right to my core. Oh man, no, I love root beer, but yeah, I get IBC root beer in bottles, and I don't really drink out of frozen or chilled mugs, but I drink it out of the bottle from the fridge. So like, it's close enough. But no, I'm sure you're right that it would be better
if I'm drinking soda. It needs to be on like sour side. Root beer is too.
For example,
sweet.
What kind of sour side are you thinking? I'm curious.
Give me some orange soda. Give me some Sprite.
Yep.
Give me stuff like that. Root beer's too sweet. I can't do it.
Have you ever had ginger beer, out of curiosity?
Nah, that sounds like some Harry Potter stuff, and I've also never seen that.
So it's like ginger. It's super gingery. It's like spicy almost. It's I like it a lot, but I wouldn't drink it all the time. It's kind of like a special occasion.
You also
kind of
like root beer.
I sure
so
do.
Your taste ain't looking too good on this end over here.
But so it's one to think about. Next time you see ginger beer, you can ponder it. But yeah, it's like a spicy kind of drink, and it's very gingery and not very sweet. But that's that. Yeah, right, moving on to the next one. Bebop asks, ideas for Mario Maker Switch? I like your creative, interesting AJ ideas for what the title could look like or what would make it great. New features, returning stuff, etc.
I got a whole video on it.
So yeah,
I'm probably going to make another video on it, to be honest with you. That's like a mandate, and I have to have Bob in it because that's also a mandate. So
man, that guy loves Mario Maker. Like,
yo, he loves Mario Maker so much.
Yep. Good old Bob. So yeah, Bebop, go watch that video and stay tuned for another one coming up. But yeah, I'm sure there's lots of very good ideas, including the ones that we already know AJ has made. A couple other ones. So Grimhain has a super long one a la Grimhain, which
this is the Grimhain hour.
Yep. Let's. I'm gonna skip it right now just because it's long, so we can come back to it. And
for clarification, I like to give Grimhain. I give him the floor because he's a supporter. So it's like for supporters on our YouTube channel, it's like, you know what? That's one of your perks. Generally, if somebody puts something in a Q&A or a really interesting comment, I'm going to put it in there. But I try to I give preferable treatment to support. So everybody, the floor is open to anybody if you say something interesting. But you could be dumb like Grimhain and also still be in the show.
Yep. So yeah, he has a lot of good questions. So we'll come back to those when we finish up these other two. So Patar35 asks, do you think the Switch will have third-party support to the level of Call of Duty and Madden in 2019, or will the big blockbuster games continue to skip Nintendo consoles?
Yes. No.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it with the EA stuff, but I think it's kind of now or never to some degree, where it feels like it's going to happen, especially with like Blizzard Activision being technically one company, and like I mentioned before, Diablo 3 doing so well. I feel like that shows to them like, all right, whether or not it's shooters specifically, it's worth giving Call of Duty a chance to see if that actually sells well, because other non-Nintendo games are selling well. So like, why not, you know?
Right.
And also, dev cycles are finally pretty much lining up so that theoretically, if they've been working on stuff for a little while, you know, they could have had at least a year and a half since seeing that the Switch was pretty successful to know that they want to port the game over.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's the biggest thing that people are ignoring, right? Like, the Wii U had Call of Duty, and that was because developers were confident in what Nintendo was going to do next, because the Wii sold really well. So they're like, maybe our games didn't do well, but this time they're having another console. It's probably going to do really well because we did. This time it's HD, and it seems to have more of a focus on hardcore games. So we'll give it a shot. And then that didn't do well. So then they're on the other side of the spectrum when Switch comes out, where it's like, last time at bat didn't really do good. So we'll see how this does, and we'll jump in if it looks good. And now that it's doing really well, they're like, oh, okay, now we're going to start making our games. But that dev cycle didn't start until towards the middle of last year. And games are, 2017, jeez. So it's
Happy New Year, AJ. Happy New Year.
I swear, if I was like in school or something, I'd be writing 2018 on my papers. But no, like, now is around the time where those cycles, like you said, are beginning to line up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Call of Duty. I also wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Call of Duty until 2020. Yeah, because they are on a 3-year like shifting cycle for their development of Call of Duty games.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot more third parties this year for sure. Call of Duty obviously is a question mark. If the Frostbite stuff is true, probably Madden this year, but who's to really say? But again, I feel like it's probably now or never, not really now or never. Now or next year is probably more like it. So
yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like EA with FIFA. Like FIFA seems to be doing really well on Switch, especially like in Japan. Like I think in Japan it's like the best selling SKU of that game.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, next one, Magalore 1000 asks, it's not even a question, I have a challenge for the podcast. You can choose any character from anything to be a fighter in Smash Ultimate. The catch is you have to get rid of 2 existing Smash Ultimate fighters. I challenge you to do this at least 3 times. So 3 new characters, 6 taken out.
6 characters. You want to go
first? The second half of this is going to be a little bit easy.
What, take them out? Do I already have Smash Brothers open? Because I want to look at the roster.
I don't. My Switch is downstairs. So
no, I'm trying to think if I have it open. Because I do not.
Way to go, AJ. I'll go ahead and go first. Okay, so the first one, if I'm trying to include 3 characters and take out 6, Isaac from Golden Sun, 100%. Or a Golden Sun character, whatever. I would love him to be in there. And then take out 2 Fire Emblem characters. I don't particularly. I do care which ones.
Preference?
Yeah, probably. Not that. Honestly, I haven't played any Fire Emblem games yet. I'm excited for 3 Houses, but that said, there's enough of them that you can, for fans of it, it's awesome to have Chrom and Roy and Ike and Marth. But honestly, you could take out Lucina and Chrom, and as far as I'm concerned, it would be the same. How
dare you?
Yeah, I know. I'm really offensive in that way. So, yeah. What about you?
All right, so I'll go next. I want Shovel Knight.
Ooh, yeah.
And I'm going to give the boot to. Let's see. I'm also going to go a Fire Emblem character, but I'm not a pleb like you over here. I'm going to kick out Roy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because Chrom is the better Roy.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take out, let's see, who else do I not like? Let's kick out Peach. I don't want Peach. Daisy's better.
Hot take, everybody. Yeah.
Unless you play Mario Odyssey, then you know she's a trash human.
Man alive. Yeah, that bit in Mario Odyssey, I was like, you got to be kidding me. All that work. Yeah. Do you want to do 3 or just stick to 1 right now?
We can do 3.
All right. Next up, I would love Rex and Pyra as a Pokemon trainer type character to join. Where I don't know, either probably Rex is the one fighting. He's got his sword and all that stuff, and then either Pyra is behind him on the back side of the stage, or she's also on there more like Rosalina or Ice Climbers, but I don't know, could kind of go either way in that sense, but that would be super cool. So Rex and Pyra. And as far as taking stuff out, I'm not gonna go Fire Emblem just because that would be a little cheap at this point.
It's the whole roster.
Seriously. Yeah. Man, I'm trying to think. I mean, it's too easy to go Echo Fighters, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So I feel like of Dark Pit and Pit, I honestly haven't played the 2 of them that much to know what the differences are, but Dark Pit, just why not? Keep in Dark Pit, leave Pit out. And
how dare
yeah,
you.
I don't know, just hot takes everywhere. And I don't know who else. Definitely take out Pokemon Trainer just so that you're crippled.
How dare you?
Totally kidding. Fired. No, I very much enjoyed Pokemon. That was one of my mains in Brawl for sure. So yeah, I don't know. I'll keep thinking about my second one. You go ahead and go, and I'll try to think of another one to take out.
Okay, so I'm shocked that you didn't go for these ones. But as far as the new character I want, just for the brief disrespect.
Waluigi. Just kidding.
Just for the disrespect that you inflicted upon me. I'm going to say I want a Pokemon Trainer Echo Fighter.
100%.
And I want to kick out Me Gunner and which one do I not like? Me Brawler. Because me Sword Fighter has a broken combo that freaking everybody online goes for. But it's not broken. It's easy to avoid. But it's like a kill confirm if you do it right. So yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. The Mii characters are real easy. The only downside of that is then you wouldn't have the Mii fighter costumes and stuff too. But no, that's not true because you could still just do it the fighter. I mean, the sword fighter. Yeah,
just give it all.
Yeah, I'd take out the brawler easy. I did make a bunch of custom ones, a bunch of custom Mii fighters, and they were all Boku no Hero characters.
Yo, I saw somebody else do
yeah,
that.
I 100% did it because I saw them do it first, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make. So I made Bakugo and Ide. Because, why not? It's real fun. So for my second one, man, I'm trying to think of like who plays really boring or whatever. Okay, this one is only because of like my play style. I would take out Sonic. And I know it makes so many other people mad. But yeah, I'm fine with Sonic not being in there besides for the series representation purposes. That's me.
Yo, I have more choices for who I want to take out than...
Honestly, no, the Pokemon Fighter Echo Fighter thing, and I do wonder, like, they mentioned that all the DLC characters are going to be paid, or are going to be non-Echo Fighters, but that does leave room open. I can't remember if you guys have mentioned this before, but probably, that, like, they could make free DLC Echo Fighters, too. Like, that wouldn't be really hard.
Or they could just do another pack with different
Right,
rules.
Exactly.
And this time it's, like, half the price, and it's all Echo Fighters.
Yeah, totally.
But for the last one, I want Sora, and just to hurt people's feelings, I'm taking out Cloud.
Nice.
And I'm gonna take out DDD because people that play with him online annoy me.
Good stuff, man. Yeah. So good question, Magalore 1000. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't think of who else to take out, but I'm sure I'd include somebody else, but I can't think of them either. So moving on to the big finale, Grim Hain with his novel of a question. I'll go ahead and read the whole thing, and then we can kind of come back to it because there's a lot of little questions in there.
Right.
So we've had a few special edition Switches now, and they all feel somewhat lazy, from simplistic Joy-Con design to plain dock images. And if they go all out, maybe a design on the back of the Switch. So typically all in black and white or a different 2-color variation, for example, the Pokemon Special Edition. This seems to pale considerably compared to other consoles, but also even compared to the 3DS and 2DS line. What would you like to see in a special edition in general for the Switch, and what games do you want to see special editions for the Switch, past, present, and future? Anything is up for grabs. And then he goes on, of the games announced so far for 2019 releases, what are you tentatively eyeing as a game of the year, or if you'd rather, what game are you most excited for and why? This is for any system and not just Switch. Obviously, feel free to pick a game from each system if you want. All right. So that's everything. It's 2 main questions. It's just a lot of good exposition on there.
Right. So for the first one, they had one really dope, like, I wouldn't call it a special edition, but custom console, and that's the Labo one. The Labo one is dope.
100%. Yep.
Like, if they do more stuff like that, I'm in.
Here, yeah. And my theory for it, too, I've thought about this for a while, is that, sure, yeah, there's not nearly as many cool ones as the 3DS and 2DS, but I think they're slowly rolling them out so that they get cooler and cooler over time. Because, like, if they made really cool ones now and then ran out of ideas down the road, then it'd be like, all right, well, I'm not going to bother getting that new one because I've already got pretty much the coolest one. Whereas if you think about the 3DS and 2DS lines, at the beginning, it really was just revisions and different colors and like a couple extra things, and slowly and, down the road, now we're 7 years into the 3DS life cycle, 8 years almost. And now they've got the like Hylian Shield one and the Pokeball and the Pikachu one.
Yeah, those
they're
are
like
dope too.
super cool, where it's like, I almost want to get another 3DS just to get that one.
I would never even look at that 3DS and I want one.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the thing, is like, I've got a 3DS. I don't play it really barely at all, but, and there are plenty of games, like I didn't play the 3DS for most of its life cycle, but there's a lot of games that are on there that I should be playing, and I'm not. And I have one, but I'd still probably want to get a Hylian Shield one because it's just like, that's really cool. So I feel like if nothing else, they're just doling it out slowly so that they get cooler and cooler, so that you keep getting more excited about it rather than being deflated at any point.
And I don't even know if it's necessarily a thing of like them thinking they'll run out of ideas. I just think that it's better incentive to try to get people to double dip in the event that they do revisions in the future.
Totally.
So like say they're like, here's new the Super Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch Pro or whatever they want to call it, or Nintendo Swap, or Nintendo Swap. And then they do like these crazy custom like swaps. That would make someone like us even more likely to double dip. You know, because it's like not only, and Apple uses this strategy a lot, where it's like not only is it this new thing that has different specs or whatever, but it also looks different, you know? So it's like that's what Apple really tries to do, because it's like the phone might not be super different, but it looks different, so it's a status symbol. It's like, oh, I have the new iPhone, you're still on the old one.
Yeah,
you know?
man, that's a great point. I've got the iPhone SE, which I don't care about status symbol apparently, because it's like the 6 in the body of the 5, which is already a billion years behind. But so everybody's always like, man, what's when are you gonna upgrade? Like that looks like crap. I'm like, no, man, it's great. Like it's awesome, and
it works.
Yeah, it works exactly. But
like I mean, and I usually I fall for that, and at the same time, I mean, it's a write off for me.
Yeah.
But I do like usually upgrade. This is the longest I've gone with a single iPhone, but when I bought it. It was the new, like I got the piano, like the, you know, like the glossy black iPhone 7 Plus. That was like, this is the new one, you know? But now I'm like, nah, I'm waiting till they do another 10 or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so I mean, that it makes sense. I feel like that they would wait to do cooler ones down the road. But as far as AJ, what games do you feel like you would like to see special editions for, or any of that?
Pokemon.
Yep. I mean, honestly, I feel like just any major titles at this point are going to start getting special editions. I mean, maybe not, but like so far, that's been
Diablo
the case.
A special edition.
Exactly. Like, I mean, and I wonder how much, like, definitely Nintendo's marketing of Diablo helped it sell well. I know I keep going back to that one, and it's not like I mean, I played some Diablo and I liked it all right, but I didn't care a ton about it. But it's more just like the kind of what it means for the Switch that I think is neat. But the fact that they gave that one a special console, yeah, I feel like just any blockbuster title is probably going to get one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then his last part of the question was, of the games announced so far for 2019 releases, what are you tentatively eyeing as a game of the year, or which one are you most excited for, and why?
Pokemon. Yeah. As far as the other consoles go, what even is coming out on other consoles? I don't even know.
Man, I don't think... So I only have a Switch, for all honesty and transparency and stuff. And I feel like Sony, I know Days Gone is coming out at some point.
I don't care about that.
And then otherwise they've got, there's a ton of multiplats coming out, so that's exciting.
Oh yeah, there's Kingdom Hearts. Yep. So I'm gonna give Kingdom. I'm gonna go safe. And wait, does Xbox have something? Xbox?
They got Crackdown coming out, and
oh no, they have Gears.
Oh yeah,
Gears. I think it's supposed to be coming out this year. So if Gears is coming out this year, that's my Xbox one, and then Kingdom Hearts is my PlayStation one.
Yep.
I'm not gonna. I mean, honestly, I'm probably not gonna buy it on PlayStation. I'm probably gonna wait until it comes out on Switch.
Yep.
But I'm in like the perfect like tier of excitement for that game, where it's like, I'll play it. You know, I'm interested in it, but I don't need it. You know, like whereas everybody else is like they waited decades for this game to come out, and it's like, it's fine. I'll get it eventually.
Yeah, that's me with a lot of games, honestly. And I honestly, Breath of the Wild was the reason I got a Switch, and I didn't get it right at launch because I thought I was that with Breath of the Wild as well, where it's like, I can hold out until, I don't know, my birthday, which is in October. So that would have been holding out like 7 months or whatever. And then as soon as tax refund or whatever it was came in, I was like, no, I'm going to get that. So, but yeah, I'm never
able to do that.
Yeah. And so, that was like, a month later or whatever. But besides that, there's a lot of games that I feel like I can hold out for because there's all these other games that I haven't played. So like Celeste, I knew was awesome. And I was like, it's going to get a sale at some point. And that $4 is going to just be helpful, as far as budgeting goes.
Dare you?
But I got it, and I just beat it this past week, and it's phenomenal. But I was like, I know there's other stuff. I'll just avoid it and like not watch a ton of stuff about it because I want to just enjoy it when the right time comes.
You're a monster.
You know me. But yeah, there's few games that like make me need to get them immediately, but Breath of the Wild was definitely one of those. Yeah. As far as
but I feel like Pokemon is like the obvious one, so I'm not going to say Pokemon because Grimhain knew Pokemon. I'm surprised Grimhain didn't say and not Pokemon. Right. So I'll give him another answer. Let's go. I feel like that's an easy one too.
Which one?
We don't even know. I was going to say Animal Crossing. I feel like that one's the easy one too, so I'm not going to say that either. Luigi's Mansion. That's nice. It. That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Pokemon, obviously, as well, and especially if it ends up being literally anything more than just a regular Pokemon game. If it's just a regular Pokemon game, like, that'll be super exciting, but...
Yeah, it'll exist.
Yeah, and like, but it won't be... I think at this point, my expectations are up just a little bit past that, so I will be deflated just a bit. If it turns...
I think my expectations are significantly higher than that.
Yeah.
And I'll still, like, everybody says this every time I say, like, because when I make 50,000 freaking Pokemon videos, and everybody's always commenting, like, oh, if you just get another Pokemon video game, you're still going to buy it. First of all, no, I'm not. Nintendo's going to provide. And second of all,
what a distinction.
Second of all, I mean, it's Pokemon, so it's like, I'm not in it for, like, the gameplay per se right now. I'm in it for the world, and that's what I care about. That's why I'll still buy that game. But I'll love it even more if I enjoy the gameplay of it. So that's why, like, I really, 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 really want them to change up the gameplay and make that actually fun.
Yep.
Like, and interesting.
Yeah, that would be...
And a game that if an outlet like IGN called it Game of the Year, people wouldn't be like, what? Pokemon? The game that hasn't changed in 20 years? Game of the Year? You serious?
And I feel like especially the fact that Let's Go was a departure in one direction makes me think that it's entirely likely that this game will be a departure in the other direction of like more different or hardcore quote unquote or whatever, or just like more interesting, besides like, because the complaints about a lot of Pokemon games is they're kiddie, is that they're right. Just too casual or something like that, and they want it to be more, not even necessarily challenging, but just a little bit more adult. And it's not going to be like, it's not going to be more adult in that entire sense, but like it might cater a bit more to that as opposed to just kind of being as middle of the row as possible.
It needs to be in that Mario area, like that Mario, Zelda, where it's like a kid could play it and enjoy it, but it also has enough depth for.
Yep. I mean, if it were players, if it were exactly in the same sphere as Breath of the Wild, like obviously not in gameplay and some respect and all that, but just same kind of thought sphere as Breath of the Wild. What an amazing timeline we live in.
Yeah, and it's like, and I mean, really, it would make a lot of sense if a lot of the gameplay transferred over from Breath of the Wild to Pokemon. Yeah. Especially like the elemental, like chemistry engine sort of situation. Like that would make a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's like if freaking Game Freak went over to Al Newman's like, yo, let me borrow that chemistry engine.
I mean, like,
down.
To go into the cold
area.
They
went over to Monolith and was like, hey, let me borrow like 25% of your staff. Let them build out this open world. Like, come on now. Like, Pokemon is the biggest property in the world. Period.
Yep.
Period.
When I first heard that, I was like kind of shocked, and then I looked it up and I was like, no, that's right. And I was like, no, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, like everybody looks at me crazy when I say that, and that's a stat that I say all the time. Like I told Bob that, he's like, no, it has to be like Star Wars or something. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, it's Pokemon. Like it's not even a contest.
Nope.
So it's like, and still, like, because like Pokemon, and that's the thing, like very few things ever become the biggest thing in the world. Pokemon has done it at least twice.
Right.
Like as far as like the thing that it's still one of the biggest things in the world, even on a bad day. But Pokemon literally took over the world twice, where everybody's talking about this thing, and like everywhere you go, somebody has something that has something to do with Pokemon. Like that doesn't happen very often with other things. Like even a Star Wars, where it's like it's still mostly like this thing that around when it came out, it belonged to like, you know, like nerd culture. Mm-hmm. And it was like more of this like segmented thing that not everybody's talking about. And, you know, but Pokemon was never really like a nerd thing. It was like a thing that all kids did, you know, like it was almost like you were a nerd if you weren't playing Pokemon.
Yeah. I mean, it brought people together, and that's like such a, you know, to be a cultural thing. That's part of it, is just, you know, people sharing in it too. Like if everybody cared about something, but cared about it individually, then it just would die out immediately. So, but for people to have communities based around it and stuff like that's what Pokemon has been multiple times. Yep.
Yeah. So make a game worthy of that. But I think that that's everything, right? We don't have any more questions.
That's
right?
everything.
So that's the 44th episode of Directly to You. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Maybe Logan will return. Who knows? We don't know where he's at, in another dimension or something, doing something or other. Mm-hmm. But until then, we'll see you guys next week. Everybody say something nice about Parker in the comments. And we'll see you when you see it, all right?
Yeah.
Goodbye.